All right, check, 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 check. I don't hear any echo. Check, 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 check. All right, great. Check, 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 check. All right, that's now going into 1 and 2. Check, check, check. Now, what the fuck was the problem last time? Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. All right, there's no fucking echo this time. All right, now let me try something. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. All right, cool. Good. Good, 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 good. Check, 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 check. All right. Now, let's try what we were doing before, which I don't even fucking remember. Let's see. So there's that. And then there's this. All right, that should be good. All right, we're good. I need to smoke weed. That was fucking frustrating.
Here at Streamlabs, we're always working, and I'm going to show you improved mod tools to help live streamers manage their mods and viewers.
I'm not gonna have any fucking viewers if I keep having fucking audio problems like that. Sorry about that.
Ready for PayPaul?
Zach. Whoa. Working hard on my stump, what's the problem? I ain't had shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA, you're on college. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Shut the John on them jets, cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island, moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain name, that's it, never bother. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. For my first whip, split the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas this distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that tag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at, started ballin', now I'm Chris Paul and Cats. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
gentlemen, welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices in the in-flight.
He did the whole race, for real.
He did the race back right on it. Shoot my nigga now.
Yeah, well. Too many cars gotta stay out the way, especially the streets when they in a rage. I remember my nigga, he caught a case on a run on the low and he did the race. Caught a body, it ain't really shocked me. Rubbing on demon time since the bottom. All the bro in my man, we sharing mamas. I wish I could've stayed in from all the drama. Rare roof, we was really there getting money. There's then with the place where the rain or sunny. Know my niggas gonna catch me, I ever stumble. Know my team gonna pick up, I ever fumble. Niggas ain't winning, they really punt. In that location, we coming, so we loud guardian niggas, we stayed 100. If you been on my block, when we kept it coming. The plane, cause I carry a lot of weight. FaceTime with my baby, make sure it's straight. Breakfast with A, with to start my day. Chop it with Henny and talk with A. Yo, we crack, it's my dog, and we get it back. Champion South taking devil crash, and somehow I still go when I get the cash. But it ain't never been about the bag. I've been dipping in fashion, I'm about to spaz. Latest release like the sneakers app. So that don't worth more if you sell it fast. Made more off the merch than I did off rap. Made more than merch than you did off rap. Yeah. Made more off the merch off rap, and I ain't even had to mention my DJ Sass, yeah. I'm gone. Said I'm gone. I 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 said I'm gone, yeah.
Been going and going, and shit got my main line going crazy. Going, I've been moving strong, but they tryna play me. Said I'm wasting money doing all these songs, ain't nobody gon' play them. Now a couple months, I don't drop a tape, niggas be like, we waiting. You cannot find me in Roddy, we just touching down to Miami. The way the police got these niggas on records, they all need a Grammy. It's all for the family, told my daughter how my car when I'm landing. It's all in the plan, your circle gets smaller when you start expanding. Where we came from, that shit made us so polished. Fuck what they talking, I knew me regardless.
Fuck what they talking. Fuck what they talking about. Alright, let me see what I want to do. So I figure this shit out. Man, I really do hate technical issues, and I gotta really talk to my people because I can't do that. Like, I was so excited to stream today, and then I had issues with my mic, and then I had fucking issues with that loop. Like, I just can't. It puts me in such a bad mood, and it's not fair to anybody. Let's see what this hoe's talking about. All right, I'm gonna probably hop on Rebecca's show real quick, just cause I want to see what she's talking about. And I'm wondering, like, oh fuck it, let's just do it. How did I do this before? I had this here. Then I had that here. All right, let me change the scene to base. All right, check.
You know, you're out of it. You know, you're going to eternal punishment. That was what somebody quoted in one of the clips I played. Why? He said, because when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was thirsty, you didn't give me anything to drink. When I was a stranger, you didn't invite me in. Okay? So when the way that Jesus is separating them is not on who believed and who didn't believe. It's on who did the good things for other people and who didn't. Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
Socialism or not? Yeah.
What's that?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to hear Lena's comment real quick.
Who believed in socialism or not? You know.
Well, maybe Lena.
Problem if God had just given us like a safe place to live. Isn't that just what the Jewish people wanted? Like they asked him during the Exodus for food, and then he like sent them plagues.
Okay, now I want to respond to that.
That's on a different topic. Okay, sure.
Okay, so you did kind of clarify, because I was going to ask you, what do you mean by hungry? But so would you say that because somebody doesn't believe in Jesus,
entering into God's kingdom? They were like, whoa, like they were surprised. And so, I hope it's not Christians being surprised at who they're serving. We know who we're serving. So who is this talking about? Who are these people who are going to be surprised? I think it is people who are, maybe they didn't believe for whatever reason. Okay. Maybe they, and I think there's a lot of atheists like this, that they have been severely hurt by the church, or, there are certain religious ideas that, like hell, that are preventing them from seeing the goodness and glory of God, but who are living righteous lives. And there are people of other religions, right? There are Hindus who are living righteous lives. There are Muslims who are living righteous lives. Now, I'm not saying they're without sin, and I'm not saying that they don't need a savior. But what I'm saying is Jesus can give his salvation to anyone he wants to, because he bought it for all of us. So he can give it away to whoever he wants to. And he's promised it to those who believe. But he's also given indications that that there are people who are living righteous lives that, they may be saved by him.
now are there Christians here that disagree? Because I almost think that, because you kind of went a little bit soft there.
Well, a lot of Christians will disagree with her, but I think if you're honest with the text, you have to wrestle with this stuff. And so I tend to think that those are dead on things that Christians don't consider enough regarding what Scripture says, what Jesus taught, the Master.
So, Rebecca, you're saying that Hindus could have everlasting life without, being baptized and whatnot.
I think so. But again,
wow. Well,
I'm just
okay.
Look, I'm sharing the best that I can do interpreting the Bible. The only people I can give a guarantee to are the ones who are trusting in Jesus as Savior and asking him to forgive them of their sins and save them. But I'm being
a little contradicting, because I just revert to John 3:16. I mean, it kind of gives you the answer right there. Well,
the context is, the writings are who are they to in what context. And, you could say what it means to believe on Christ, if you've never heard of them.
And let me say this. Let's look at what John 3:16 says. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life." It doesn't say that, but if you don't believe in him, then you're screwed for sure. Now, there is a passage in John 3 that does say, "Whoever does not believe is condemned already because he has not believed in God's one and only Son," blah, 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 blah. Okay. So actually there is a passage, there is a verse right after that says something like that. However, that I believe is an active not believing, like basically the type of people who saw Jesus doing miracles, experienced him, and purposely rejected him. But the majority of the world throughout history, the majority of people throughout history, and even the majority of people on earth today have not rejected Jesus Christ and his message. A lot of times they just haven't actually heard it. So,
Rebecca, is this like, I just feel like when we do this, we are taking our modern day lenses and we're just stretching the Bible so far. If I say, if you have a ticket to the basketball game, you can get in, it's pretty much implied that if you don't have a ticket, you're not getting in. Now, granted, I didn't come out and say if you don't have a basketball ticket, you can't get into the game. But we all know when I say you need a ticket to get into the game. And then to have another passage that explicitly says, hey, look, if you're a non-believer, you've rejected God and you're condemned. I mean, it's really heartwarming that you would like to interpret it in a way where I may not be condemned.
No, she gave a good contextual interpretation. It's totally valid.
I'm saying that's fine, but my point is, if it contradicts and stretches a plain reading of the text, then her personal interpretation isn't going to do me any good when the majority of Christians are going to take that text, read it plainly, and say non-believers are going to hell.
Well,
if I'm
go ahead.
It does you good. It'll do you good if that is the truth, right? Because then you are like, despite your unbelief, you're not going to hell. So that's the main thing, right? From her perspective.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I'm saying that's really nice, but in what other context do we read this way? We don't read this way.
Well, Jay, do you think, Jay, that Noah is you know, I don't think Noah was a real person. I don't want to say in hell because this whole thing is about.
I don't think Noah ever existed.
Well, okay, if Noah existed as the Bible and all the patriarchs, did they get saved by Jesus?
I don't think there is such a thing. I think these are all stories.
I know,
but I'll tell you this. When I was a Christian,
you're arguing with me about the Bible.
Yeah.
So let's take on the framework.
Yeah.
Of the Bible.
So can I talk about when I was a Christian? Because that's probably easier for me to do, right? To like put on the when I actually believe these things. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was a Christian, I certainly believed that, you know, Noah and the patriarchs were holy men of God who, so I would say yes as a Christian. So go ahead. I don't want to jump your follow up.
So Noah was called a righteous man, right? But he did not believe in Jesus Christ as his savior.
Sure, but that was clearly like before Jesus came, right? So I mean.
Yeah. But what's the difference between living righteously?
Go ahead, Lena. It's okay.
There's no difference between Noah living righteously before Jesus came and someone living righteously today who doesn't even know about Jesus or the cross.
When I was a Christian, that would have really bothered, because I would have said that was the whole purpose of Jesus coming, was that it changed history, that literally we changed the calendar, right? There's before Christ and after Christ. So I felt like Christ coming did change everything. And so I would have felt like Noah would have been saved, you know, before Christ because Christ hadn't come yet. But then I would have felt like after Christ, Noah would have needed to be a Christian essentially to be saved.
And Rebecca, you know what the Christian answer to your question is, right? Like they're going to say something like, you know, it's no man is like everyone knows in their hearts or natural revelation or. Right? Like no one is without excuse.
Romans
1. Yeah. That's what I hear quoted.
Yeah. Well, I believe that too. I believe that, you know, people, you know, that no one has an excuse for their sin, right? Like everybody should acknowledge what is right and good with God and his divine attributes and his power and everything. So I don't think that I'm contradicting that.
I don't see a contradiction either, and I'm about as atheist as you can get. I get what he's saying, but I just think that just shows that arguments can be made on both sides. But Rebecca,
I don't actually have a problem with what Rebecca's saying theologically. And matter of fact, like I said, I like it. Right? It sounds nice for you to not need to be a believer. My point is simply, I just don't know that that's a sustainable framework, because I just don't think most people read it that way. And I think dealing in society, I kind of come up against most people's plain reading of the text.
So Rebecca, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what would you say about someone which has been born and grew up in a Western society as a Catholic and believes what the Catholic Church says, that you need to be a Catholic and do the all the things that the Catholic Church says, and actually hears the gospel of salvation and so forth, but rejects it and thinks that good works are necessary and to be saved?
Well, I'd say they're wrong, but they're saved. So you can be wrong about a lot of things and be saved. I think Catholics are saved. Okay, they think good works are saving them. Great. But you know what? They love Jesus too. And, you know, it doesn't hurt the world a bit for them to do those good works that they think they need to do to be saved. So I'm fine with that.
This reminds me of the Pope coming out here like a few years back saying that even atheists and other religions can get into heaven. And that's like a pretty progressive thing for the Pope to say.
It's nice. I think Catholics are very happy to hear what you're saying, Rebecca.
It's a nice thought, but it would have been really nice if he'd acknowledged the fact that we don't believe in such a thing. I mean, it's just, it's a little bit weird to be so gracious about something that people outright reject. Rebecca, I have this question in general, and it's not really meant, I just want to know what you think about it. Let's put it that way. Like, to me, a lot of people say, you know, you have to believe, and if you believe, you know, it's your faith, not what you do. But from my perspective, that's kind of immoral. Like if I'm gonna grant you heaven and grant that that's the good place where all the good people go, I kind of want it to be based on their works. I don't think it's because to me, it's like the conundrum that I live with is I could be as good as I can possibly be. I could just spend 24/7 doing nothing but good works. But because I can't bring myself to believe in this God who really I would love to believe in if somebody would just give me enough evidence to, yet somebody could be like the worst person to ever live, and if they have a deathbed confession, like they're good and I'm going to hell no matter what I did. And I don't see how that's a morally upstanding framework. Like,
yeah, I was going to bring up that point too.
Okay,
you can't be a good Samaritan and go to heaven, and that's in the Bible too.
Well, see, but I think you can be a good Samaritan and go to heaven, because look, if the vast majority, like all through the Hebrew Bible, we have descriptions of the righteous versus the wicked, and the righteous have certain qualities. They're honest. They don't cheat people. They, you know, and I could, you know, list off the things of the righteous. And in fact, I have it in my book. So I'll just open my book and list off the things that are qualities of the righteous. So I
want to hear that. And I do want to hear you address the issue about what this gentleman just said about the deathbed confession, like Ted Bundy. Yeah. How do you feel about being with guys like that when you're, oh, hi, how you doing, Ted? You know, that was, you know, when you're in heaven and you know Ted Bundy just gave a deathbed confession after there's somebody that was a good Samaritan, but it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I trust Jesus's power to change people. And so if someone says, oh, but this isn't fair because they could just believe in Jesus and then they can just live as immorally as they want. Good luck with that. Because I do believe that Jesus changes people. Now, he doesn't change them overnight sometimes. Sometimes he does. But, you know, Jesus changes people. And in someone like Ted Bundy, okay, if he had a deathbed confession, you know what? He's not going to be the guy who cuts people up and eats them when he's in God's kingdom. So there is forgiveness for Ted Bundy. There's forgiveness for all who desire forgiveness.
Okay. See, and I think, Rebecca, that is something that, like, that's why people are turned off with Christianity. Even though you've said good things that, well, it's all right, Ted Bundy, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But do you see where
Wait,
things
I
like
didn't
that?
say that. I didn't say let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He was a horrible person who did horrible things.
No, you're
right?
saying, hey, you know what? Well, you don't know his mind, but you're saying, well, if Ted Bundy gave a deathbed confession, he changed his life. Well, I guess we're just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm just saying, do you
I
see?
don't know his heart, but God does.
Wait a minute. You just wait. Okay. I swear I heard you say, all right, if Ted Bundy gave a deathbed confession, he was not going to kill people anymore. You don't have a problem with that.
That's not the way I heard it. I heard it as even he could be rehabilitated. So
okay, at the end of his, like, a minute of his life, I mean, the chaplain comes to his, the side of where he's going to get shocked. I mean, come on, you guys are splitting hairs here.
But you're doing something that's even worse than splitting hairs. What you're doing, and I've heard this so many times from atheists, is you're treating the reality of the world and the reality of Jesus Christ and the existence of God an analogy to being in a kindergarten class where the teacher is rewarding good behavior and telling bad kids to go stand in the corner. That's not what we're talking about here.
I didn't say that either. Hey, okay, let's back up. Rebecca, let's redo. Okay. Re-say what you said when we mentioned like Ted Bundy or deathbed confessions. Tell me what I didn't understand
about Ted Bundy. What is your question about Ted Bundy?
Well, the gentleman, I don't know. He's got this purple background. I can't see, but he would asking you, what do you think about guys that give these last minute, like, God, I want to be saved. And you got the chaplain guy coming in with the water and baptizing them right before they get electrocuted after they killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, I believe that, anyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved if they're sincerely calling on the Lord, like the thief did next to Jesus on the cross. There were two criminals next to Jesus on the cross, and one of them said, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And that man didn't have time to do anything good. He didn't have time to change his life.
Right.
And he deserved it. He admitted. But he admitted that he deserved his crucifixion.
Yeah, that's what he said. And that's why I'm like, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And then you guys jump me. And I'm just saying, all right, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But listen to me.
You're doing all the talking. So who's jumping?
I want to tell you something. I've kept my mouth shut for a long time, and Rebecca knows it. This is really the first time I've talked. Now, all I was trying to say was trying to relate why, and I'm not an atheist. I just don't believe in this biblical God, just like you don't believe in Allah. What I'm saying is I can see where atheists have a hard time with Christianity because they're going, yeah, that's real nice. Here we got a guy that killed people, and then at the last minute, he's all right. And that's all I was saying.
Look, there's a lot of people on this call
that,
and like
that's the wrong way to look at
really
it.
wanted to talk. Why don't we try to keep it short and let them speak for now?
And Rebecca explained to you why you're getting it wrong, okay? Because that's not the way God operates. It doesn't look at people and give them a scorecard. And that's why it's so difficult to come out with who gets saved, who doesn't get saved, because the Bible tells us you can be saved by grace alone. You can be saved by good works. You can be saved by being one of the sheep who fed me and fed the least of these. You can be saved if you profess faith in Jesus Christ. There are many, many ways to be saved, all in the Bible. Do they contradict each other? Let me just finish this thought and then I'll leave. Do they contradict each other? No, they do not, because the Bible is not a textbook. It's not a science book. It's not a code, a legal code. It's a book inspired by the Word of God. And that word we're still struggling to understand and comprehend. And we can't just take it literally, as somebody said, because it's not meant to be taken literally. In fact, nobody reads the Bible literally. Nobody, even the ones who say they do, they don't.
Even the flatties, even the flat earthers don't.
Yeah, especially. So
well, there are things I do read literally.
Well,
I
you know that
disagree.
you and I don't agree on everything, Otangelo. So anyway,
I would like
my
to
point
respond.
is that it's that this argument, I think, is very old. It's very worn out, and it doesn't address the theological realities of what Christianity is all about. And I will sign off here because I think I've said enough.
Thank you so much, Sai. Great comment and great having you on.
When there's a chance, I want to address this issue, but I'll wait till whenever.
I just want to say, I think I totally agree with
This is a
that.
great issue. It is slightly off topic, but I do want to address this. There's two questions or this statement and a question in the chat I want to address really quick, and then we can go to James. The kids who do the work Titan Uranus says, the kids who work all semester and earn an A stop caring when lazy, irresponsible kid is given an A last minute for really trying on the final exam. Christianity is harmful. You know, I agree that, you know, that isn't really a fair situation, but the situation with humanity is different, because even though you might feel yourself different than Ted Bundy, and the consequences of your actions may seem less gross and weird as Ted Bundy, it does not mean, this is not the biblical view of humanity. We are all actually in the same boat with our sin. Now, some of us are able to control our sin a little bit better, but we all need the same reformation, the same renewal, the same restoration and healing of what we are. Because I bet that even the people who are doing a good job controlling their sin and trying to live righteously don't do that easily. So this is not the same situation.
But there is another thing that he wants to say, that someone can just calculate, well, I will live the way I want, and then at the last minute, I will repent myself, and then I will go to glory. But the thing is, you don't know when you die. You can die tomorrow when you cross the road and are hit by a car. So that doesn't work.
That's true. Can we go to James, though? Because I feel like...
is like, you know, in your analogy, all the kids are getting Fs, but some of them are trying, right? Some of them are trying really hard.
Yeah.
And there are other kids who are not even trying. They're getting their Fs without even trying. And they want to get like they want to pass the class at the last minute, and people feel like that's unfair. That's just the difference.
Well, but see, this assumes that, you know, okay, because look, there's a reward to getting an A that goes beyond getting the A, right? You actually probably learned something rather than if you got the F, right? So there's benefits to being a righteous person that go beyond just having eternal life,
sure.
Right?
But
so you have the benefit of being righteous. Like, it's good for you and it's good for the world if you're righteous. It shouldn't be all that you guys, you know, you say.
But that doesn't get rid of the teacher's responsibility to grade, right?
But let me respond to this other thing really quick, and then nobody respond because we're going to go to James. Trisha says, Jesus said, not all those who say, Lord, Lord, and is his, and the devil believes also. How does this apply? This applies perfectly well, because, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian in name, and there are many people who are using the name of Jesus to do evil things. There are many people who are using the name of Jesus to make themselves rich, but they're not actually believers. There's people who are, you know, calling him Lord with their mouth, but are not actually true believers and followers of Christ. So, James, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
So yeah, I did. I want to remind everybody again that I'm not a Christian and I do not believe in the narrative. With that being the case, I think what Rebecca is saying makes sense. If any of us were to have a God come down and replace 1% or 2% or 99% of the way that we think and the way that we relate to reality against our will, without our consent, we would feel violated. But if somebody on their deathbed who is 99% evil and just not even quite 1% good says, you know what, I acknowledge my 99% evil and I consent to having it replaced with good so that I can then have a place in that kingdom, it then makes sense that an architect of that kingdom would say, since you're consenting of your free will, I'm going to go ahead and do that because you've accepted the terms, and I'm going to replace 99% of who you are. It's gone. That 1% can now remain, and I'll replace it with the other 99% of a good person.
James, I want to be fair too. Like,
awesome.
Not only do I think what Rebecca said makes sense, it's how I sort of understood it when I was a Christian. And I would say it's how most Christians understand it. And so I would actually disagree with the gentleman who left, because this is what Christians tell you, right? This is why they're sort of got priests trolling the halls at the hospital and trolling the halls at the prison, right? Because they want you to make that last minute conversion. But the problem I have is that as I matured, and I will say now I'm an atheist and a humanist, that does not meet my definition of justice. I do think I'm a better person than Ted Bundy. Yes, I've made my mistakes, but I think we're not all equally bad. And I don't want people like that to just escape punishment and be given grace at the last minute. I want them to be held accountable for what they did, same way I was held accountable for what I did wrong. But again, I'm being fair to say I do think she's reflecting a genuine Christian perspective. And yeah, I don't think she's saying anything out of line in that regards.
That makes sense to me too. But I think it's important that we not give authority or merit to the people that you just talked about that are going through the halls or going through the internet saying horrible, horrible things in the name of Bible, God, and Jesus. You know, they're presuming a certain authority that is unmatched by anyone else's authority. Rebecca's challenging their authority, and I want to support that. And one of the ways I support that is by not going back to speak of those people as if they're the authority on what Christianity is or isn't, because I want to take that authority away from them. I don't think it was ever rightly theirs.
Hey, Thank Rebecca, where's Kenny?
I don't know, but I'd be happy. Oh, he's still in the chat, but I'd be happy to have a talk with him on this. Hello to Wildheart, and I do want to try to get back on topic, but this is a good topipic we're on too. So if you guys want to, I'm going to go
ahead and go, but I would like you to consider. I'd like you to bring on Kenny sometime, and I'd like to, like a chat like this on a Friday evening, because you just don't get to meet good old time Bible Belt Baptist types like Kenny, and I'd like to ask him a few get in his head.
I can point you
if that's okay.
Okay, so I will invite him to come on.
It's not. Chris has been waiting a long time to talk.
So
let's let Chris go and let's keep
waiting a long time.
Chris.
Yeah, okay, and then Wildheart, because he hasn't said anything yet.
Okay, so
guys, I have to let you know, I have to end the stream in 25 minutes because I have to go get dinner.
Also, Lena,
I know it's off topics of what you're on, so I'm just saying, in the future, could you plan something? And it sounds like there's some others that would like to, get inside his head. So if you could do something like you did here tonight, I'd like that.
Cool.
So,
okay,
all right.
Chris?
Thank you. See you.
Well, I could wait until Lena does her piece. So I don't know.
Okay. I think I want to give Wildheart a chance to talk first, though.
No, if I carry on, I'm late to the party, so I've not been following the conversation. So
okay, alrighty. Lena, did you want to say something?
If that's okay, thank you.
Of course, please.
Yeah, well, I was gonna quickly. Can you hear that in the background? Are we good? Okay. By setting aside harassing people at hospitals, we can still have a theological understanding of who's saved and who's not. I don't really have a problem with the Ted Bundy example because this is still kind of no offense, but a monkey level understanding of justice. Let's be real. The reality is that it wasn't just in the first place for Ted Bundy to be Ted Bundy. None of this is fair at all in the first place. And so we're trying to judge people based on how, nasty they are to each other. And it's we were all thrown into an unfair situation let's not nitpick here. I'm fine with people who accept, being converted into, righteous people. Fine. And that's a good thing to point out, because the whole thing in Christian theology is that it's not by works. It's not by anything to do with you or your abilities. God has to come in and cure you of your sin, right? It's like divine power that's needed to fix this. And so, I guess my only objection would be that God's being petty and choosing to only save those that believe instead of the non-believers. But if I'm going to defend Rebecca here, people believed in Judaism before Christianity, right? Jews didn't think that they were getting saved. No, it wouldn't be such a popular religion if they didn't think that there was a chance of salvation even without Jesus in the picture, right? So then, a faith healer comes along within the culture and says, you can still be saved if you follow the law and all that and be righteous. But, also you could believe in me and follow me, and then, that you'll get in that way as well. And I mean, you could make that biblical case. It's not.
Lena, do you think that this, though, throws a monkey wrench in the whole Jesus narrative, though? Because if God was saving people before Jesus, why couldn't he just continue to save his chosen people? Why did he all of a sudden need his son to die on a cross to continue saving people?
That's the Christian, essential part, is there needs to be some sort of blood ritual sacrifice. The timing of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Jesus comes before you die or after you die, as long as you're righteous and with God. Then when Jesus comes and gives that sacrifice, you're good. Again, we could question why God is doing the whole blood sacrifice thing in the first place. Why isn't he just curing everyone of their sin and not punishing people like a petty, insecure, parent who doesn't know what they're doing? I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I would also say that I don't expect Christians to answer that, right? When I was a Christian, I believed that a deathbed confession could get you into heaven, and that a righteous life lived not in faith was not as secure. And I didn't feel like it was my job to defend that necessarily, because I believed that that was how God set the system up, right? So I don't think it's Rebecca's fault that that's her opinion, right? If that's what she believes the Bible says, then she's just reflecting that. So I also want to say that I don't think it's a personal thing. Yeah.
Well, I feel like Lena did a good job responding. It's not that I believe that the people before Jesus were getting saved in a different way. It's that there was no immortality. There was no eternal life being given anyway, except through Jesus's sacrifice and resurrection. Everybody who gets eternal life is getting it through Jesus Christ. It's just, did they need to know that that's how they were getting it? Was the knowledge of it the requirement? And I'm saying the knowledge of it is not the requirement.
Isn't it? It's the difficult part is, if God has to, it almost seems to me they're trusting that God's providing their provision or something. So it's an acknowledgement that you're, on one level, it's, I still struggle with this question about it, but it's because Christians usually want to say it's not your works, but then if you don't know about God providing a provision, what is it about that makes you worthy or able to go to heaven if you don't even know that God has provided a provision? That's where it gets difficult for me anyways. But it seems like even in the Old Testament, the idea was they're trusting in God's provision provided for sin somehow in the animal sacrifices. And then what they actually knew about what God promised in the garden is kind of difficult. No one really knows. Seems like.
Chris, you're raising your hand. Did you want to?
Yes. Well, I'm going to say something that I'm going to get out. The thing, kind of going back to the hell thing, as much as I don't believe in hell, I don't do that. I'm basically happy that, at least to a certain degree, that Christians have the concept of hell, because it's essentially a stopgap measure of thinking from preventing them from thinking that God is basically omnibenevolent, because the day that you will eliminate the idea of hell as in, and that God is not responsible, and that basically that God would be is just good and all that stuff, I'm gonna be scared, because this is when you cannot acknowledge like both sides of the same coin. You're just gonna be in denial, and that's really something that's gonna, at least for me, I'm gonna be scared of basically thinking that can only be sunshine and rainbows, pretty much, and it's gonna be a scary place that we're gonna be at. Anyway, I'm gonna head out.
So, Rebecca, can I ask you a question? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chris. Bye. Okay, go for it, Deepak.
So how do you reconcile Matthew 25:46?
Okay, this is probably the eternal punishment versus, yeah. So this is, and I talked about this a little bit. You might not have been here, or maybe I didn't do a good job explaining it. So 25:46. So I'll just want to read from it directly. Okay, so then this is the sheep and the goats parable that I was talking about. Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. So those who are righteous, that's God is granting eternal life. And you know, people are be made righteous by believing in Jesus, so you can trust in Jesus and be made righteous. But these sheep in this parable were surprised. Now, are we talking about the eternal punishment? Is that what you want me to resolve?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean,
So
sounds like hell, right?
eternal punishment. Now, you can read that one of two ways: punishment that keeps going, like continuously, or punishment that is final, right? Like eternal punishment. Death is eternal. That's an eternal punishment. You're not coming back. Right? Okay. You're dying. You don't get to come back. That is an eternal punishment.
I thought you might say that. And you know, honestly, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
At the beginning, when I joined the stream, I just pulled up like quotes biblical passages related to eternal torment or whatever.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at a bunch. To be perfectly honest, I thought I'd find what Jay was saying, right? Which is that it takes a really strained reading of the Bible to not see eternal conscious torment and like to have your annihilationist view. But I'm reading this now, and I honestly can't find like you can really genuinely read it both ways. I really there are sometimes when I hear people come up with like interpretations of the Bible, I'm like, come on, guys, you're really stretching there. Yeah. I don't know if I can say that for any of these things I'm reading. That's the closest, like that 25:46.
Yeah.
Is the closest. Even there,
you know what, Deepak, I'm telling you, there's only like at tops 5 that can be even used to support
Deepak.
Eternal conscious torment, and there is 100 or more that can be used to support what I'm saying, maybe even 200.
So I would say this though. My thing wasn't, just to be clear, I don't think that it's hard to get the annihilationist view. Matter of fact, when I was a Christian, that's what I believed, right? And I think that, you know, most of us that read the Bible critically will tell you that the eternal conscious torment thing is a later Christian invention and most biblical scholars aren't with it. My thing was more related to the salvation, this idea that a non-believer could be saved, you know, if they're a righteous person. I just don't think that that's how most believers interpret it. And again, I don't even know where the Bible stands in relation to what most Christians believe, because I'm kind of convinced most Christians aren't reading the Bible, right? So when I deal with Christianity, I don't think I'm necessarily dealing with the Bible so much as I'm dealing with the beliefs of practicing Christians. But I think your biblical interpretation is close to mine, so I'd say you're on there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you are, Jay, you're sharing something that is true, which is probably most Christians that you've encountered and that I've encountered take the exclusive view, which means that you have to, like confess Jesus as Lord and, go like actually be a believer in order to be saved. But that is not the only view, and it's not the only historical view. There have always been Christians who believed in an inclusive view, which is what I believe, which is, Jesus is the savior of the whole world. This is 1 Timothy 4:11, by the way. Jesus Christ is the savior of the whole world, especially of those who believe. Okay, especially for those who believe. If you believe, then you can know he's your savior, but he's still the savior.
So,
of
Rebecca,
the whole world.
so
his salvation doesn't have to be limited.
If there's no eternal conscious torment, then what do you see salvation as? What is Jesus saving us from or to?
Sin and death. He's saving us from sin and death.
So you don't believe in eternal conscious torment, but you do believe in eternal life. So you can die and that's it. But if you're saved, then that means you live eternally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't want that though.
Yeah, because I was going to say, in my view, I think people would be better off even if eternal life was true. I just think we'd be better off teaching people like, hey, you live, you die. We know that happens. Be as good as you can be. Like, I kind of think when I look back, and I'm just going to speak for myself. When I look back at my Christian morality, I think of myself as just weak sauce. Like, I think of myself as doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sorry that was your experience. I mean, in my experience, that's not my experience at all. But
I just mean things like, to me, if you tell me, if I ask you, have you ever cheated on your spouse? And you say no. And then I say, why not? And you say, because the Bible tells me it's wrong. I really do admire you for not cheating on your spouse, but I admire you a whole lot more if you said, because I told them I wouldn't, or because it's, because that would hurt them, because I love them. Exactly. Like, give me some just basic motivation. And I would feel like that is more noble than because the book told me to do. That's what I meant by weak sauce.
Yeah.
Don't you believe everything because somebody told you? I mean, when it comes down to it, and you agreed with it. So I mean,
sure, but most things people tell me that I act on. Again, it's not the fact that somebody told me. It's the fact that it's the dangling of the eternal life. It's the reward, right? Like, to me, it should just be, I donate to the poor because it feels good to be charitable. I don't need to live forever to make doing a good thing in this life worthwhile for me.
Right, but then you're just doing it for feelings.
Yes, and I believe that we're human beings, and that's
better. But I'm not doing anything because
there's no wishful thinking involved.
Well, but I mean, like, I think it is like a misinterpretation of Christianity to think that Christians are doing things just to get an eternal reward. Actually, what I believe has happened in me is that Jesus is working in me to do according to his good pleasure, like to do, he's changed my desires. So there was a time when I didn't think stealing was wrong, and I did it all the time. And, but when I started following Jesus, I didn't want to do it anymore.
I find that very hard to believe that you didn't, that there was a time in your life where there may have been a time in your life when you...
I got such a thrill from it, guys. I got such a thrill.
But that doesn't mean you didn't think it's wrong. Doesn't that mean you got a thrill because people thought it was wrong?
But I wasn't thinking of it in terms of right and wrong. Okay, it wasn't occurring to me. But anyway, that's a whole side topic.
Sure.
But
just
I want to give
backstory
and
tidbit.
Kevin a chance to talk. But anyway, my point about that was Jesus changed my desires. I don't want to do it. It's not because I think if I steal, I'm not gonna have eternal life, because actually I already know I have eternal life. I'm immortal whether I steal today or not. So I'm not. But Jesus has changed me. But Daniel and Kevin, what do you want to say?
Yeah, my question is then, on this view of Christianity, then a ton of atheists are going to be to heaven then.
Could atheists be in heaven?
Yeah, with this view of Christianity, then a ton of atheists are going to be in heaven then.
Well, I think it's very possible. I think it's probable that there will be atheists that
they won't be an atheist then, will they?
Well, true, touche. But so then, why do we need to believe in Jesus for then?
Well, because Jesus is awesome.
What
And
if
he's the Lord.
What if my life actually proved, like, I used to believe and now I don't believe anymore, and now my life has improved since then?
Yeah.
How awesome is Jesus? So I was believing the wrong Jesus? You're gonna play that card?
I'm not going to say that you were believing the wrong Jesus, but you know, a lot of religious people who sincerely believe in Jesus have some pretty bad ideas and are living like their religion can really mess you up. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that someone's life can improve after they like are like, you know, relieved from a bad way of thinking or a bad, you know, situation religiously.
Yeah, similar to what I was just hearing about, you know, the dangling carrot of heaven. You know, you always feel guilty of not doing the right thing, or you always have this weird motivation of doing things instead of just doing things because it's the right thing to do. And once you are free from that, it's much easier and much better to be a good person than, you know, having to do that. So. And there's like a lot of other reasons. So it just feels like if once we remove that believing Jesus need for heaven, like I have a hard time finding the motivations to be a Christian.
Well, and again, I think that tells me that you had the wrong motivation in the first place, because
motivation was to go to heaven.
But that's just the reality of it. It's like, if you assume it's a carrot on a stick that somebody made it up, then that's one thing. But if it's just the case that that's the outcome of Christ's work in the world, then, I mean, you're supposed to lie about it, so it's not a carrot on a stick. I mean, it just is the case. And so, I mean, maybe that's draw more people in at first, and then as you grow as a Christian, that's not your motivation.
And Daniel, you know, God, the gift, salvation is a gift. It's a gift from God. So if you receive the gift of salvation, then you would be in that situation of knowing that you have eternal life as a gift, and whatever you do righteously, you're doing it because you want to do it. That's the situation I'm in. I know that no matter what I do today, I have eternal life in Christ. I've been made righteous. So I don't have a carrot on a stick.
Could you just ask, could you give that gift up if you didn't want to live forever? Do you have a choice to not?
You know, the Bible doesn't really talk about that. There's a few verses that seem to say someone can be an apostate and leave the faith. So maybe that means you could give up the gift after you received it. I don't, but I'm just going to have to say I don't know on that one, because I don't think the Bible's conclusive on that. Guys, I have to end the stream in 7 minutes, so let's give Kevin a chance to talk.
Just a quick question, and then I'm good. What do you think, Rebecca, is the main reason why people like Sean McDowell, Mike Winger, Alyssa, and Francis Chan, are not like getting on board with this? Like, what do you think is the big roadblock for that?
Oh, you mean with the hell stuff? Getting back to our topic. Thank you for bringing us back to our topic right toward the end. You know, I think it's because they're just set in their ways, and people don't have time to research everything, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I understand they probably are, they've dedicated themselves to Christian ministry. They probably don't have time, like they haven't made the time to actually engage with the arguments. And that's unfortunate. It is understandable. And I think there's just fear surrounding any, you know, like there's just an automatic response to people who don't, you know, believe in eternal conscious torment. So they've just kind of taken on that like automatic response of, okay, you're not being biblical, but they just haven't really looked into it. And like I said, I understand it, because there's a lot of things that people ask me and I don't know, but don't plan on finding out, because I can't become an expert in everything. So, but I do think it's unfortunate that they're not willing to be more humble about it. Like, actually, I'll say Ethan was in the chat. Spartan Theology is Ethan, and he's constantly asking me questions about universalism. And he asked a question earlier. I didn't get to respond to it, but it was like, do you think it's at least possible that all could be saved? So, and what do I do with the ideas that are the verses in the Bible that do point to universalism? And I have to admit, I have not done due diligence with regard to universalism. I don't think universalism is true, but I have to acknowledge it as a possibility. And it's one that I really haven't explored very deeply. So, I mean, I just have to say, it is possible. And maybe I haven't engaged with the arguments enough. Anybody have any final thoughts? I think we have time. If everybody shares a 30-second thought, I think we have time.
I can just say thank you, Rebecca. I wish I'd joined earlier, then I could get more into the conversation, but thanks for letting me on.
Thanks, Wildheart. Okay, bye. Good to see you.
Can I comment on that last thing that he said? I think
sure.
It doesn't help. And I put it in the private chat, but there are like trusted leaders in the evangelical world that will like often say really things like, oh, the motivations these people have are liberal motivations. And, that's why they're saying what they just don't like it. And that's an often repeated thing by people that are, worthy of being looked up to, but that's a mistake and it's dishonest or it's not true. That I would say anyways, some of the people that advocate our view absolutely do it based on the Bible and a conservative view of scripture and the faith. So it's unfortunate that happens too. And they probably just kind of defer to these people they trust, rightfully so, even just on that issue. So yeah, it's too bad that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 quick points I want to make. If it's
James, your microphone is quiet. Can you turn up your volume a bit?
How about that?
There you go. Yep.
2 quick points I want to make. One, the irony of so many people that are Christians stumbling people away from their faith by pushing this eternal hell concept. 2, Professor Paul Bloom released a video, I think it was yesterday, about how we need a measure of suffering in order for life to have meaning. If we lived in a paradise where there was no pain, no suffering at all, life would lose all meaning. And I don't have time to get into why that's the case here and now, but I think the idea of what heaven would have to be needs to be revisited as a separate conversation at some point down the road.
Oh, I'd love to have that conversation, James.
Awesome.
Let's do that. Okay.
I'll go with, what are you doing this Sunday at 3:30 p.m.?
Not sure. Let's talk
I'll email you. Yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
Yeah.
We definitely want to have you on Hot Program. I'll say Hot Program on YouTube, Jay Bundy on YouTube. Right now I'm live at Pocketlocker86 on YouTube. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on your channel. Hope to have you on mine soon to return the favor. And the rest of the panelists, always good to see you guys, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. But yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you.
Drop a link if you can, if you get it before you leave.
Will do. Thanks.
Now, somebody is writing to me in the chat, dead forever, not eternal punishing. Who is this? Where is this? Who is talking to me?
I think that's Jamie Russell. I think he changed it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So who else wants to say something?
I was just going to say goodbye and thanks for the presentation, Rebecca. I would like to see if you could email me all the verses that you put all the work in. I'd really like that, just to kind of cover all that, because this isn't something I fully, I kind of brushed a little bit, but I haven't gone into the weeds like you have with it. So yeah, but thanks again for taking the time to do this. So have a good one, guys.
My pleasure. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. I would just like to quote Jean-Paul Sartre and say that hell is other people. That's all.
Testify.
I'm guessing he wasn't a very fun guy to be around with that kind of attitude.
He recognized the problem of human sin, it sounds like.
He recognized some problems, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, who hasn't given a final comment? Daniel and Lena?
Yeah, I can go quick. My comment is just for me, just adds more to the confusion of Christianity, and for me, just add more to the question of the reliability of the Bible. That every other person can have a different interpretation and can find verses for it. And it surprised me that a God that loves us so much could be so darn confusing to understand, and having a book that's so darn confusing. So that's it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It's just another confusing thing that is just adding more and more to it. But I would love to talk sometime about how your view on the reliability of the Bible. You may have already, but I missed.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk, Daniel. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm sorry that it adds to the confusion. I definitely understand that there's a lot of different, views out there. And so, yeah.
Yeah, but again, I appreciate your
All right. Let me make sure. Let me just get tested. Make sure I'm switched over. Okay. Yeah, sounds like my audio's okay. All right, let's get some smoking music going. Also, I was a little bit concerned about the bot there. It seems like the redeem stuff is not going. What's up?
Again, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
All right, somebody else try to redeem something, because every time I do it, it seems fine. But I saw a couple that you guys did, and I don't know if you heard it. Yeah, I like need that one when I'm like free flowing and I don't know what I'm about to do next. All right, I do want to follow up on that conversation with Rodrigo. So I want to see if he got my message. All right, yeah, he just messaged me. He just asked me to join the restream. So yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna do. I think next we'll chat with Rodrigo. Asked me to join the restream. So yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Just mute the stream. Yeah. We'll chat with Rodrigo. Yeah. So yeah, so I think no, Rodrigo, can you hear me? We'll chat with Rodrigo. Yeah, you gotta mute the stream.
Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
I can't hear you on Restream. I've muted the YouTube, but I can't hear you on Restream.
Oh, hang on a sec. I'm muted. That's why. Is that better?
Yeah.
Check. You can hear me on Restream now?
Yeah.
All right, we're in the money.
What's up?
Not much, man. I don't know how to make this thing go away, because I'm like, usually I have more than one monitor set up, but now I only got the one, so it's just keeping this thing up here. It's a little weird, but maybe it'll just go away. I don't know. It's no big deal. How are you doing, man? Oh yeah, it just went away. Perfect. Ooh, I like this. This is slick looking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is Restream is actually on a different computer than the one I'm streaming from.
Okay.
But it makes it
like how you got the two cameras set up. That looks good.
Yeah, it makes it a lot smoother. Well, look, I had to move some things around after what you said yesterday. I was listening to you. I was like, oh, Rodrigo said this is my money camera. I better switch up on them.
This angle, I don't know how other people feel, but I really like it.
Yeah, no, that's why I put it up. So I wanted to know, how did those? We should talk about what you just saw on Rebecca's channel.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of that. I had no idea what I was joining.
But before we do that, tell me about the kids, because I didn't get to be there with them in person. What was that like afterwards?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was super chill. I just asked because they went to the Natural History Museum afterwards, and I asked if I could join.
Wait, hang on one sec. I guess just for the sake of the audience. So Rodrigo and I are both evolutionary biologists, and today, I told you guys earlier in the week, I presented that video as part of the Evolution 2022 conference, and today Rodrigo and I had a workshop with the undergrads, the diverse undergrads, called the Undergraduate Diversity at Evolution program, the UDE program. So We gave a seminar. We co-hosted our first time co-hosting a seminar.
It was good.
Yeah, and it was on what was it? The grad school, pre and post grad school. Navigating grad school. There you go. Your memory's probably slightly less stoned than I am.
I'm very not stoned. I am.
Yeah, hang on a second though. But so Nano and YouTube Punk, we're gonna come back to talking about Rebecca, because this comment of it's harder and harder to listen to Rebecca, I totally agree. And
I want to hear more about
that's
this too.
actually what I was thinking about today. I realized I got the fancy mode now, so like I could make stuff pop up there. But all right, so we gave this talk to the UDE students. I was in costume. I did the whole music thing, which would have been great, except for my interface going out on me. I changed interfaces right after that. I was like, nope, you are never doing anything again. Like, this interface is done. I literally took it out of my setup because I had sound checked it first. So can you imagine going through a sound check thoroughly and then something going like that as soon as you go live? You're like, nah, you're done. You had your chance. You burnt. So then, yeah, you hung out with them, I guess, a little after. But they enjoyed our session?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them told me kind of like, that was so cool. I mean, I told you that comment that like one of them came up to me and they were like, oh, I wish that I was talking to another student that we said that they should have put up the question of what did you want to be when you grew up again, like after our talk, because then they would
wow, that's a great idea.
Like the biggest compliment I've heard in my life.
Oh, like because we were inspiring them to want to be evolutionary biologists.
The one thing I did think was we could put up the word cloud again. So like before and after.
Yeah.
How do you feel about grad school?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like,
yeah, to see if we've helped them feel more comfortable, less anxious with the process. Yeah, that would have been helpful. But dude, it's so exciting because you know that like even if all of them don't go to grad school, you're in a room full of kids that are like, I shouldn't even say kids, a room full of young people that are all, excited about research. They've all done research. They're there to present their research, right? They're like legit. And I compare that even to like my own students, right? Like when I'm teaching at Michigan State, we had like 15, 16 students. And it's like 12 or 13 of them are going to med school. Right. Just flat out. You know what I mean? So you feel like you're so excited to teach them. And, it's great that they're going to be doctors with, an evolutionary understanding. But it's not the same as like, oh, you guys all want to be evolutionary biologists, right? So today I just felt a little bit more connected. Like, oh, you guys want to do research for real.
Well, I talked to a lot of them, and they're like such different backgrounds. So I told you so we went to the natural history museum.
Yeah.
And there was like people that are into paleo, people like neuro people, cricket behavior people, plant insect interaction with climate change.
Yeah, they're everywhere, right?
They're doing so like bat behavior.
Well, dude, that's the best thing about the grant. So I saw all their applications, right? And they told me that this was like a light year, right? Because of COVID, like nobody's applying to anything. So
it's usually more than
it's usually like way more. Yeah, and also there's usually way more applicants. Because I think we may have had like 50 applicants or something, but they said there's usually way more. But I'm sitting here like, if we get the grant, like it's done, because like the students are there. The students are there. Like we just need the program, we just need the money, and like where are we gonna find the students? Like, oh, they just send us a big list of all of them already. So
can we talk about this for a minute? Like,
yeah, go ahead.
What's again? Who are we asking money from?
The NSF.
This grant.
The NSF, I think.
The NSF. Okay.
National Science Foundation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a deadline, or are we just submitting it?
No, I think the deal is we just needed to get this UDE out of the way. Now that we're done with that, we'll shift our energy to the grant. Which, by the way, they told me we have to submit like a boring formal version of the grant, which I figured we'd have to do. I figured we'd have to do that anyway.
I don't know if I caught up with you that I talked to Zena, she's a muralist she's one of my closest friends, and she's a muralist in Minneapolis, and she's been working with a lot with the Latino community, putting up these like awesome murals. And she also does these like super cool biking zines. So she's like a hardcore winter, all like Minnesota winter cyclist commuter. And she makes these zines. And I think she's a fantastic artist. And I kind of approached her and I was like, how cool would it be if we had like the one application that goes to the NSF,
right,
one of the formal documents, like a pamphlet that like the universities can hold, but then we make one that's more like undergraduate student specific, and it's kind of
like almost like for marketing purposes.
Yeah. So one gets like passed around. It's got less information. So it's got a lot of information on it, but like maybe it's more focused on like the design elements. And so I don't know like how into zine culture you are, because there's some people that are like super into. A lot of my friends.
What is it? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
A zine?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Like magazine? Is it like an online version of a magazine? Is it related?
It's not online. I think it's it's like craft magazine.
Okay.
So it's like small production, niche audience.
Oh, so like pirate radio and print.
Sure, yeah. Let's see, like if you say zine.
Yeah. See if something pops up and then you can screen share it.
Okay.
Look at this. Oh, we got a background. Now we're cool.
Yeah, I mean, it just says, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia, short for magazine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Small circulation, self-published work of original or appropriated text and images, usually produced via copy machine.
Yes. So I think not only that, but I think you're right on, because I think actually we should do one of these every year. Like when I was in a McNair program, they did like a McNair journal, and that's where our stuff went. But yeah, I was actually kind of happy because basically it was like, okay, we have to submit like a formal, boring proposal, and then we could just do whatever we want with the rest of it. So I was like, all right, this is good. All right. When do you have to give your talk?
Sunday.
Do you want to pull up your stuff?
Oh shit.
I mean, if you give it live on stream, it'll be easy street when you get there.
That's true. The only reason that I'm hesitant is because a lot of the animations that I put on the slide, like people have told me, doesn't look super good over Zoom, because it's kind of like it gets kind of like.
Oh well, let's see. Let's just see. I mean, who cares?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, if you're pulling my arm here.
I mean, I figured you wanted to go over at some point, and I was like, we might as well, because I realized it soon. So.
Okay. All right. Let's.
Because I wanted your feedback on mine. I just pushed it to literally the last minute and didn't have time.
Okay, how can I do this? Okay, but I'm not gonna see myself at all. Okay, so I get.
You will. No. I just had to add it. That's all.
Oh, I can hide it. How does this work?
No, I had to add your screen to the.
Yeah,
thing.
But on my screen, when I make it full screen so that people look at it, then I can't see the stream and I can't see you.
Oh, really? What does it normally look like? I guess normally when I screen share from it, I'm using a different screen. I'm usually like not sharing the screen I'm looking at. Are you on your laptop?
Yeah, I just have the one. I don't know if the people in the chat, if y'all want to see my work, I'm happy to give you the 10-15 minute talk. Otherwise, we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think they did want to see it. Yeah. Also, I was gonna say if you really wanted to, you could join the restream. You could join restream from your phone.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, join it. You want to join us from your phone, and then we can see your screen, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Also, Rodrigo, the main reason I'm trying to do stuff like this is because I'm 100% with you that we should do a podcast soon. And if we want to start it next week, this is all the type of stuff that you have to.
Sorry.
No. It's not you. That's Restream, bro. That shit happens to me all the time. Actually, if you watch my my evolution video, it happened.
How do I mute you? Stop.
Just mute
can't make my
your
volume go any
phone.
lower.
Mute your phone. Yeah.
No, I couldn't make it go any lower.
Oh, and it's still not muted?
Okay, no, you don't get access to my camera. How about that? Oh, you need it?
No, you need it to get access to your camera. So use that for your camera and then
Oh, I see what you mean.
yeah. And then just mute it so that you don't hear any audio from it.
Okay. Camera permission blocked. Okay, let me try this again.
But yeah, we'll have to do we'll have to do this with guests and stuff, right? Join the restream, share your screen. Oh, I don't know how to share. I can't see myself. So this is my advice. If anybody out there listening is a content creator or an aspiring content creator, just get comfortable troubleshooting tech problems because that's literally the job. Like you're always going to have people calling in. They're not going to have any fucking clue what they're doing. And you just got to be patient with them so that they can get through their tech problem. And then you can get to, the interview or the conversation or the debate or whatever without letting the tech issues frustrate you. And it's the same thing I had to do as a single streamer. Like literally before I went live today, I had a ton of issues with one of my wireless mics. It took me probably over 30 minutes to solve it. I had to just rewire all my mic stuff. Then I had an issue with getting restream screens set up, right? And you just have to do all that, and then you got to hit the go live button and act like it never happened. Yeah. Just
All
FYI.
right, so I got this on my phone now.
All right.
Does this sound weird?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
All right, then I think I probably got to add your phone.
So then I can have this be my camera. It's gonna be
Exactly.
the same angle, basically.
Yeah.
Cool. So then what? So then if I make this full screen, if you add me to the thing. So the way that I fixed it, this is the worst possible way I could have fixed it. Oh, I gotta make this on my sideways.
Yeah, there you go.
Is I just hooked up my Bluetooth headphones to my phone and just put them in the other, away from my computer.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, whatever works. The other thing is I would say on your laptop, stop your camera while you do your screen share.
Okay.
Just so there isn't a camera that you're not looking at.
So there isn't two.
Yeah.
Twice.
Perfect.
Okay, but I still don't see, it looks like, hold on, if I make this full screen.
Oh, you know what? It might be the layout, Rodrigo. Hang on a second. It could be me. Hang on one sec.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at...
oh, no, we're in a good layout. That's interesting. All right, let's see what else there is. We've got
what I see is, I don't see that as full screen. I just see it, on my computer, it's full screen, right?
Yeah, the only thing I'm getting on here is just weird. It's just not, it's it's square instead of widescreen.
Also, okay.
Yeah. All right, try the try presentation mode.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
Yeah.
Why didn't that change on the screen share though?
I have no idea.
Is that what you're seeing too?
I'm seeing regular PowerPoint mode, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. What if I close
My
this?
problem is I have too much stuff going on. Yeah, I'm about to get some more gear. The problem is actually that I have a lot of equipment and I don't have gear to have it all hooked up at once. But I'm about to fix that because I'm about to get I think $12,000 worth of equipment coming into the studio. Yeah, so I'm about to be upgraded. I'm about to finally have everything connected to everything else at once, and I'm gonna be super happy.
Okay, so if I share this, and now if I make it full screen.
Also, believe it or not, having more stuff is really good. So for instance, the best thing you could do for your computer as a streamer is to get another computer.
Yeah.
Right? The best thing you could do for your monitor, if you want to make the most of your monitor, is get another monitor. right? Because as soon as you try to multitask with your computer, you lose computing power. As soon as you try to do more than one thing with your screen, you no longer have a full screen to do whatever you're trying to do. So same thing with my keyboards. Like I have 2 keyboards because I'm controlling 2 computers and I don't like switching back and forth. But yeah, we're
look
good.
Look at what my screen looks like, because I'm sharing my screen again.
Oh, you're right. It like went away and came back. All right, hang on a sec. There it is. All right, now it's like widescreen, but it's still in the presenter mode. Oh, are you selecting the right screen when you go to share screen?
I am. Oh, you know why? Okay, I think I know what's probably happening. I think I understand. Big PhD brain. Let's go. Let's work. Close all the tabs I don't want.
Well, I want people to see. I wanted people to see more. Me and Rodrigo are going to start doing a podcast together. I want you guys to see more what science life is really like. And as you can see, it's just flawless intellect, super high level technology used, just sheer brilliance, 24/7.
Yeah, it's definitely not just blundering through whatever you're trying to do until it works.
Yeah.
All
Definitely
right,
not
so
watching YouTube videos for 8 hours a day and then being like, I'm tired.
Now let's see. Share the screen.
All right. Here we go. Also, you know what? I'm going to make you a co-host and stuff so that you get like mad privileges. Look at this.
Bam. 3rd time's a charm, baby. Let's go.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
But I do want to read my slides, so I'm going to do this.
Also, hide that Streamlabs IO is sharing your screen thing.
So look, now everybody gets built-in subtitles, which is good.
Yeah, but get rid of the Streamlabs is sharing your screen thing.
Oh, can I just? Oh,
yeah, you can just click hide. Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. All right.
All right, and then let me see. Let me get our camera view back to this one. And then we're in presenter mode, right? So we can see your next slide and all that.
Yeah, and you can see my notes. And that's just helpful for me, especially.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you're looking at the same screen or whatever. Okay, yeah, no worries.
All right, cool. I'm gonna jump in then, if that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So guys, he's got about 10 to 12 minutes to do this talk, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So
it's like 12 to 13, yeah.
Oh, James Apperson is here. All right, guys, we're about to learn about some serious evolution from Rodrigo. So pay attention, ask him some good follow-up questions, and try to pay attention to what he says, because his slides are always so fucking beautiful and the artwork is so good, you'll get distracted. But try to pay attention to the actual scientific content.
That's like the complete opposite of what I'm trying to do by making pretty slides. Like, I want to make my slides pretty because I recognize that I'm competing with your phone for attention.
Right.
So I need to make sure that there's like things that are happening that keep your attention. So anyway,
yeah.
That's the motivation.
What did you do with the color bar here at the bottom?
Yeah, that's my little pride flag, baby.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay, I'm with that.
It's all of the colors that I use in the presentation.
Oh, beautiful. See what I'm saying, folks? Dude, that's styling on them.
All right, so thank you for having me on and letting me practice my talk. Of course. I'm just gonna start. See, so that I can see that it's kind of like jumpy, huh? Yeah, it's not jumpy in person. How is that?
Yeah, it's all right. It's no big deal. It just like stutters. It's like when a video game like freezes a frame or whatever. But I mean, you're going from slide to slide, so I wouldn't worry about it right now.
Okay. All right. And the talk is in person, so people won't see that.
Yeah.
So before I begin, gotta thank my funding sources, my committee, wonderful lab at the University of Minnesota, Go Gophers, as well as my growing network of incredible interdisciplinary colleagues, and of course my family, without whom nothing is possible. And I hope that it is not too cliche to start this evolution talk with Darwin, because, well, that's what I'm doing. So Darwin's work covered a huge range of problems, one of which are what are called collective action problems. Has been discussed by theologians, philosophers, and economists for centuries before him, and continues to be a very active interdisciplinary discussion centuries after him. For a very long time, we have found it difficult to explain how cooperation between individuals is maintained over time. And here I'll highlight one of his quotes and acknowledge the anti-Indigenous sentiment in this quote, but choose to keep it in because it is very important for us to recognize the deep racist roots in our field's history. And so when trying to think about collective action, Darwin said that from an evolutionary perspective, he who was ready to sacrifice, or they who were ready to sacrifice their life rather than betray their comrades, would often leave no offspring to inherit their noble nature. And so that's kind of the paradox. If you're going to go out of your way to save somebody else's life, maybe put your life in danger, how does that kind of how do the genes for that sort of behavior get passed on in a population? So there's a bit of a paradox there. And yet, you know, this sort of cooperation exists all around nature. Typically, as biologists, when we think about cooperation to this level, we consider ants. They're what are called eusocial organisms. For those that don't know, all ants are female unless the queen dies. The queen is the only reproductive unit in the colony, and all of her daughters are sterile workers who are literally sacrificing their own reproductive lineage for the queen. So it kind of doesn't exactly make sense like why that would happen, at least not obviously. And of course, there are other forms of cooperation that exist across many organisms. For example, chimpanzees exhibit group level cooperation in the form of these like territorial boundary patrols, in which a few number of individuals will like circle the boundaries of their community's perimeter and search for signs of other chimp communities and kind of try other chimp groups and try to keep them away. And in doing so, they risk this aggressive contact with other groups, which could leave them, you know, bodily harmed, but benefit the integrity of the members of their community having access to like the primest real estate, the best of fruits to munch on, the best mates to mate with as well. And individual chimps can choose not to go on these patrols, which means that they would not be risking their body, and they would be benefiting completely on the actions of other chimps. So it doesn't really make sense. Like, if it's in the individual self-interest not to go on the patrol, how do these patrols persist? To me, this is incredibly fascinating. I think that this interplay between group and individual levels is fantastic, it's fascinating, and I think it exists across multiple levels. I think some people in this room might be thinking about kind of the political divides of what's good for the group, what's good for the individual, what do we value? And this sort of stuff happens at so many levels of biology. For example, you have these molecules that just kind of replicate themselves. Okay, so what does it take for them to come together and form a cell that replicates as a unit of multiple replicating molecules and enzymes? You have individual cells that are replicating together. Well, what does it take for them to come together and be a multicellular organism like ours? And then you have these like organisms that are replicating individually. What does it take for them to get integrated into a eusocial colony like these insects? And so I mentioned that there's a tension, but it might not be exactly obvious why there's a tension between group and individual level benefits. But when these smaller individual entities come together to form larger entities, this requires negligible conflict between the benefits accrued to the individuals. When we form a new group, sometimes this is called a new level of selection. And the formation of that new level leads to these kind of interactions between group and individual. So I think a very common one that we can think about in an organism such as ourselves can be cancer, right? So a cancerous cell lineage is one that is replicating at its own individual benefit, but at the detriment of the group that it's a part of. And so this dynamic is what I'm really interested in. And so this leads me into my work. The work that I do is with nascently, newly evolved multicellularity, because our lab has been able to reliably evolve this transition multiple times across multiple different model organisms. And it's pretty easily workable in the lab. In the lab, of course, I do experimental evolution, which allows us to create these replicate fossil records and allows us to kind of peer into multiple alternate evolutionary pathways as they evolve in real time. As these systems evolve, so does our understanding of them. And this is part of the magic of doing this kind of work. So a little bit more about my model system. I work with this multicellular Cluiveromyces lactis, which nobody ever calls it that. We just call it K. lactis. It's sometimes referred to as a snowflakes strain. And there's two important things that we need to keep in mind when we think about this model. One of them is that mother-daughter cells don't separate after mitosis. They remain attached, which forms the multicellular clusters that you see on the screen. But not only that, the multicellular clusters will actually come together and assemble into these like really simple social group clusters. From this moment on, because I think it's a little bit easier, I will use these abstract representations to represent the different phenotypes that K. lactis can take that we work with. And I'll go into detail on each one now. So how do we evolve collective action in the lab? We can imagine a population of these yeast cells, the ancestor cells, typically unicellular, floating in a homogeneous environment. By chance, some of them might exhibit this phenotype of lack of mother-daughter cell separation. If we give the cells time to sync, specifically 7 minutes, and we only select the cells that reach the bottom of the tube at the end of those 7 minutes, we can expect that the cells that will be represented in that portion of the tube are larger cells that can sync quicker. And if we repeat this over and over again, actually, we only have to repeat it for like 10 days and you already start to evolve multicellularity. It happens like that. We can expect a population of multiple multicellular cells, if not exclusively. So something really interesting happens in this system that doesn't really happen in other systems that we've evolved. The same selection can also evolve this free riding behavior, where individual cells that might not be multicellular but can attach to multicellular organisms appear. And given the same selective pressure of syncing and given the same amount of time, we can expect them to come into the population because they're able to literally get a free ride to the bottom of the tube. They don't have to pay for the cost of multicellularity. They can just be single and ready to mingle, attaching to these multicells. And so to review, selection for enhanced settling favors the multicellular clusters, and that same selection favors the cells that can attach to those multicellular clusters. And most interestingly, to me, despite what we might assume from a classic collective action model, these two strains coexist over time, which is kind of remarkable. We'd expect the free rider cells to take over to the detriment of the collective action cells. And so when I was thinking about this, I thought that a pretty straightforward to ask the system would be how the dynamics between kind of like multi-cells and free riders would be affected by changing the amount of resources. I thought that, they're coexisting because there's abundant resources. There's no need to fight. There's no cost for having your neighbor free ride off of you if you got more than you need. And so I also realized, though, that if I were to reduce the amount of resources, I would also be reducing the cell density in the media. So there'd be a lot less cells in the media. So I thought that the first thing that I should do would be to directly manipulate the cell density so that I could have like a baseline to compare stuff with. And so this is how I did that. After allowing the cells to undergo the normal 24-hour growth cycle, I dilute the cells with fresh, sterile media, but only during the settling phase. This essentially mimics the low density conditions that we expect from growth and much less resources. I transfer these cells, as shown before, for 15 days, and I determine the number of multi-cells and the number of unicells every 3 days. That gives us some sort of like track of the community dynamics. And so I tried 4 different dilution factors: dilution 1, 75%, 50%, and 25%. And let me show you some data. So here's some of the data that I made. On the y-axis, you see the proportion of multi-cells. On the x-axis is kind of time or transfer number. And each of the panels corresponds to one of the social dilutions that I showed in the previous slide. As you can pretty clearly see, the proportion of multi-cells increases as the social density decreases. And to me, this makes sense. The free riding strategy is only going to be successful if there's a lot of things to free ride on, right? So if there's less trains going down to the bottom of the tube, you can't get that many rides. So in higher social density environments, it's more likely that these cells will make contact with one another. Another interesting result that came out of this work that we can contrast with the previous data comes from combining the multi with the ancestor cell. So this cell is unicellular, but doesn't have this like free riding behavior because it's not sticky. It can't like stick onto the multis. And as you can see in like the lower density groups, the multis just sweep them out. The unis, the ancestor cells just don't have time to evolve this, or don't have, it really happens so fast. I think they don't have the time to evolve that behavior. But in the, actually, who knows if given tremendous time. So anyway, they're just not able to free ride at all. Because, yeah. So this sort of behavior appears to only evolve in the high social density environments. So if you're like me at this point, you're kind of thinking, okay, that's cool, but what do these dynamics look like if being a multi isn't a good thing? What if being a multi was detrimental to the system? How does social density change these things? And I would think that that's a really great question. So what I did was allow the cells to sync the same, those 7 minutes, but only select from the top of the tube. And I was wondering what would happen. And so here we have the same 2 genotype pairs, the 2 strains paired together, and 2 different social densities. I think the effect of social density is not super obvious in the multi and the free rider co-culture. And there might be an effect in the multi and ancestor co-culture. But what I find most interesting is that the multis appear to disappear much quicker in the presence of these free rider cells, which I'm interpreting as the free rider cells actually increasing the settling ability of the multis. So they're actually helping the multis sync, even though we've kind of thought that they would be a detriment to the multis going into this experiment. Given this data, I don't think that that's totally the case. So maybe it's not super obvious what's happening here. It's not to me, but I can kind of talk about what I think is going on. It seems that whether a cell is a multi-cell or a free rider cell attached to a clump, each cell is going to contribute some amount to the syncing phenotype. And while the contribution of a single cell might be negligible, the overall contribution of the strain is not, right? So much like trying to understand the effects of a snowstorm, we would miss a lot just by focusing on the individual snowflake. So for this system, this implies something really interesting about these costs and benefits in the system. Although there might be a cost due to this interstrain competition during the 24-hour growth phase, each strain actually benefits each other during the 7-minute sinking phase. And so these costs and benefits don't happen at the same time. They're kind of like out of sync with one another. And coming back to the chimps, this is something that a colleague of mine, Tony Massaro, found in a recent study on chimp free riding on boundary patrolling. Remember that groups of chimps will go out and kind of patrol their community environment, and individuals can choose to opt out, free riding on the benefits without paying for the cost. So Tony and his team expected the propensity to free ride to be inversely related to social status. If you're a big macho male and you have a lot of offspring in the population, you have a lot more to lose if that community gets infiltrated by another chimp community. So they expected that there would be a relationship between social rank and free riding propensity. What they found is really remarkable. Not only was free riding a lot less likely than expected, they also found very little evidence that factors such as rank, mating rate, or age explain the free riding propensity. They reasoned that the cost of maintaining free riding may be offset by the future benefits of group gregariousness, such as mating, grooming, coalition building, and hunting. So this kind of leads me to another question. It's not obvious what's happening here, right? Two teams of researchers working on very different model organisms with very different social complexities are finding it very difficult to reconcile theoretical assumptions from mathematical models that have been handed down to us from the past with these empirical results from the lab and from the field. And so it's obvious that we're missing something. And I'm not sure what that is, but I am sure that recontextualizing these problems is going to require extensive interdisciplinary collaboration, not just across organisms, but across disciplines. This kind of work requires collaborating with historians, philosophers, humanities researchers, artists, and there's a lot of burning questions here. So if you're somebody who finds the interplay between group and individual level benefits as fascinating as I do, I would really love to hear your thoughts at the end of this talk. And at this point, I would like to thank everybody once again and open the floor to questions.
That's great, man. I don't know. Were you paying attention to how you did on time?
No, because no.
Okay.
No, because
yeah, I wasn't either. I wasn't either. But dude, that was a great talk. And I could tell you've changed it a bit since
how do
since
I stop
lab.
my screen here?
And I think the transition thing is
Whoa,
just
what is happening?
Oh, the infinite loop. Yeah, it's just like you're sharing the same screen as.
Oh, that's right. How do I stop?
Just say stop sharing. I could take it off too. I could turn it off.
Yeah, take it off. I can't find that.
It's funny.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
And yeah, also you could turn your come back to your laptop. There you go. All right, cool. So yeah, I think the transition thing is just a frame thing. Like Zoom and some of these teleconferencing services, they only really let you share sometimes in like 720p, sometimes only like 30 FPS. So your transitions will probably look fine in person.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just it's coming off a projection screen, right? So
yeah, I think the presentation was like good. I like that you went more in the direction of explaining like the philosophy and what you wanted to talk about. If you have to cut time, I'd even go more in that direction and cut data.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the data really is just a vehicle for me to say,
Yeah.
like, hey, everybody, like whoever's listening, will you talk with me if you find this interesting?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's kind of the goal of this talk. Is like, I'm not looking to recruit undergrads. It's not like a job talk right now.
Right.
Like, I am like a couple years away from that.
Yeah.
Right now, it is just kind of like recruiting people who want to work with me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about for this year. I was like, what are my goals? I was like, nah, it's just my coming out party. I'm just.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Because that's kind of where I was at. I was, I put a lot into it because I was like, I don't want to. If I just do something regular my first year, then I've literally like set myself up for people to like act funny towards me in the future. Whereas like, if my first year out of grad school, I'm just like, boom, then it's just, oh, he's been that way this whole career,
Right.
It's literally since day one. But yeah, man, I think the content is great. I think people like it. I get a little, oh, yeah, I say like and too much when I'm talking to, although.
No, it's totally a super valid critique.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there I go again.
It's a tough thing to remember. Also, yeah. I sometimes, so one way I dealt with it was to be scripted, right? When you're reading, it doesn't happen as much. But then I find that to be an even bigger problem. So
yeah, I've been kind of like, my MO is usually just to like work really hard on the slides and the structure of the talk, and then just improv over it. Because if I'm improving over it,
yeah,
I'm not usually umming that much because I'm just like going off, right?
Yeah, so Cameron Bennett put in the chat and like. I say like, I'm guilty. He said that he says and like a lot. I say like crazy, like I'm the worst. Yeah, I always talk like a valley girl, pretty much. Valley girl trapped inside a black guy's body or some shit like that. So there was a lot there. So earlier we were talking to Doug, who's a content creator in our community, runs a channel called Pine Creek, is sometimes criticized for basically being a bit too like right leaning, and sometimes like critiquing people on the left too hard for being like softies. He always says you should be more dead inside, And I think something I think about when I hear him do that, which he doesn't do all the time, is just how much our group focuses on like cultural and like social evolution, right? And for me, that's like missing the whole thing. Because like you saw when you like you saw with the ants, if you're a eusocial species, like literally every behavior is a socially context, right? It's a social behavior. There's no such thing as that's really, I think, David Sloan Wilson's point when he talks about cultural evolution is that if you're a social species, all of your traits are social traits. Like,
right.
Your eyes.
But there's like,
yeah.
But there's gradients of socialism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, at what point are you social enough that all your traits are social?
Yeah, I think we're there for sure, or mostly.
You mean human beings?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So the thing that was also interesting is this whole thing about the free riders, right? Because I think that's what we miss in society. Like we miss that. Okay, like you should, I think, morally do whatever it takes to treat the less vulnerable well. Absolutely. Because like, poor, destitute, just because somebody's on the wrong end of the birth lottery, you know what I mean? But fuck all. If you need a little more motivation, dumbass, it's like we're all gonna be there one day, right? And so I think people make this mistake of like me. I'm very much like, no, I pay super close attention to how we treat the elderly, how we treat the poor, because I could lose my job, or who knows, and you end up in the breadline yourself, or we're all gonna get sick and lose your functioning. And so I just like how your research kind of brings that out. It's also cool because it gets at these bigger questions with microbes, which is not something people normally do, which is why I think it's good for you to go more that route, because that's what's really unique about it's kind of the unique thing about working with Mike, right? Is he genuinely believes you can take on big questions with microbes, whereas a lot of microbiologists are like, I want to figure out how this gene changes the thermoregulation during phosphorylation of
boring.
This. You're like,
that's boring science. Why would I want to do boring science?
Yeah. So
no, I like what you're saying. One of the ways that I think about free writing, I think it's a little bit different, is I was talking to my friend Zena, and she lives in like an anarchist commune. Like she doesn't pay rent. She makes like very little money. They all like share their food. She just like paints murals.
Wow.
And like muralism in Mexico, I'm from Mexico City, for anybody who doesn't know in the chat. Muralism in Mexico City is super important. It's been a big part of the like counterculture for decades, like 100 years. And it's art that can't be sold because it's literally just on a wall, right? So you can't sell it.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
so this is fascinating, right? Because like, from thinking about it from a neoliberalist capitalist kind of perspective, which I like that you didn't take that perspective. So now I'm going to take that perspective. How much is that person contributing to kind of like the social good? How much is that person contributing to like increasing the capital of their community? Not very much, until that work becomes so powerful. That work becomes like so interesting to people that some corporation is like, hey, actually, how we were shitting on you before?
Yeah. Now we like it.
Was that person free writing? If the benefit comes
Right.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
was that free writing?
Yes.
You can't focus on right now. We're like evolutionary terms. Diversity is diversity, and it's going to be important eventually.
Also, you can't really predict because of like the sort of what's the word I'm looking for when you got multiple genes interacting? Because, right, so you don't know like what new innovation's gonna be useful on whose background, right? So like you could come to me and say, oh, Jay, it'd be great if you painted us a mural on a wall because it would inspire everybody. But I just can't do that, right? So that's only useful, right, with the background of the person who actually has the skills to paint the mural. So to your point, you gotta kind of do diversity for diversity's sake, because you don't know what's gonna be useful down the road, and you don't know on which background it's gonna be useful.
Everything's gonna change. Everything's changing all the time. So it's best to have kind of like as much as anything as you can.
I don't know if you know who Titus Brown is, but he told me this about he's a professor out at Cal Berkeley. He was at Beacon. He's a really sharp guy, and he said that he wanted to do everything like super open source, and he was doing a lot of like free workshops and stuff that wasn't really, people like, why would you know what I mean? Like, why would you do these things?
Right.
And he said once he got tenure and people saw like, oh, that worked for him, then everyone was just like, oh, it's super cool. How could I, it's like afterwards, but like while you're going through the thing, like nobody, gets it. That's always where I'm at. That's why I'm like, you just got to do stuff. Cause I realized that, it's always a risk. And you're gonna miss with like a lot of people. So it's all very fun. All right. So other things was I've been trying to I just realized this would be like a cool setup for a show. You ever watch Star Talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast?
No, but I know what you're talking about though. I never watched
it's like
it.
him and a comedian. It's just pretty decent. But this would be great to just have different scientists come, have a drink, have a smoke, bring a 10-minute talk so we can get a clue as to who you are and what you do, and then just kind of, and then have a chat.
Comedians in cars getting coffee, but it's scientists.
Yeah, basically.
In cyberspace.
Because, all right, so I started this Christopher Hitchens audiobook series, right? And part of the reason was I felt like in this counter-apologetics community, we spend so much time basically bashing or beating down apologists that in a weird way, they're like the stars of our community. Like all the content's about them. It might be tearing them to fucking shreds, but they're still getting the spotlight. And sometimes I would talk to people about like who my intellectual influences were, right? Before YouTubers, right? And I realized a lot of people, it's just YouTube. Like they don't watch lectures, they don't read books, or they don't know like of these influences outside of YouTube videos. And so I was like, wow, like I heard it was like, you've never heard of Christopher Hitchens, or you have, but you like never seen any of his stuff. I'm like, really? Like, that's crazy to me. So it was kind of like wait, why don't we like put a little light on the positive case for atheism and say like, these are the atheists that influence me that I think are worth checking out or like learning more about, so that we're actually spending at least some of our energy and effort reinforcing what we actually do want people to pay attention to.
Right.
And so I started to feel the same way with science in this space, where like, yeah, I can point out to everybody who's like, I constantly come into these talks, they're like Rebecca's stuff and stuff, and I'm like, well, that's really not scientific, or that person is, misrepresenting science or attacking science, God forbid. And that's happening all the time. And I could point that out, but I can't really point to the other side and say, oh, well, here's a YouTuber who is like actually showing what science really is like. And there's a couple, but the ones I've seen are like kind of far away from what we do. And I also noticed
like it's okay to be smart SciShow people, where it is still just kind of like, this is what we know.
Well, that,
like,
yeah,
look at scientists, idiots.
There's more of that. Yeah. And then also the fact that like, so I feel like in this space where there's a lot of emphasis on like history and philosophy and these different things, that those scholars tend to be represented. But ironically enough, it feels like people in the community are really into science and they're uniquely into evolution. Like if you pay attention to like apologetics and counter-apologetics, people are talking about evolution all day, every day. But there's literally no evolutionary biologists, like at all. And so it's kind of weird. Whereas like I could point out to people who are historians and who are Hebrew scholars. We could point out our New Testament scholars. We could point out our historians of Jesus studies people. But like evolutionary biologists, like good luck with that.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of the evolution that, like the way that they see evolution is still this kind of like, has all these biases that, a lot of people in the community are working really hard to kind of confront, and not just kind of like,
well, yeah,
a lot of the racist ideologies that I mentioned, but like even just like conceptual issues about like educationism. Is everything
yes. Not even trying to be funny, but like when I hear somebody say they don't believe in evolution or they struggle with it, I always want to say like, which one? Meaning, because I think a lot of times they're just reflecting, like you're talking about, something that we consider a misconception, but that was actually baked into the history of the field. So it just reflects like a earlier understanding of evolutionary theory, which was problematic, and dealing with that is also the purview of evolutionary biologists, and sometimes they just, haven't been caught up on that.
Right.
Which who would be? Like, I don't know the latest. Whatever I understand about physics is regurgitation of what I got in high school, which is probably what my high school teacher learned when they were in school 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's just life. This is another reason I think streaming is so important. I used to have this basic equation I always tell people is I would say, like, let's say a person lives to be 80. I don't know. Let's just go with it. It's a nice round number. And let's be super conservative and say that the average person stays in school till they're 20. I don't think they really do. It's probably like 17 or 18 if we're lucky, right? On average, right? The whole population.
Maybe not. I don't even think globally it would be that high.
And globally, forget about it. Raps.
Yeah.
Like raps.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my point is you spend about 3/4 of your life not in the educational system. And it's worse than that because it stacks with this really weird asymmetry, which is that the entire time you're in the school system, for the most part, you can't vote, don't own a family, don't work. You're just a warden or ward of somebody else, right?
Right.
And then the entire time you're not in the educational system, you work, have a family, vote, right? So it's just like, that's not good. That's a problem. So one of the things I like about the idea of like streaming our Darwin's Law class is the idea of like we would actually get to like straight up have adults take the class. Like just all the curriculum online, you know, read and come along and like
Engage with the community.
yeah. And I know this community would be interested in taking it. So I know people would take it. And the funny thing is, like I was telling Rob, like we have a small mandate from Michigan State. Like we teach 15 students. So if you're paying us to teach 15 students, if we add 5 online, right? like we just significantly increase the impact of the class. You see what I'm saying? If we hit 10, that's like 2/3 of the class right there. You know what I mean? It's like so, and that's always how I felt
no
about
added cost either.
No added cost. No added cost.
Bring the free riders on. Man.
Bring on the free riders, right? Like, yeah, that's where I've always been at with streaming anyway. Is like that's why I'm like in it for the long term, because I know I don't ever need to get to even like 100 viewers. I just need to go to I got 20 regular viewers, but you pay me to teach that many students. So
right.
I'd say it works, right?
About the same, yeah.
Yeah. And if it's
I want to bring it back to
go ahead.
People wanted to talk about this Rebecca character.
Yeah. All right.
I want to hear what y'all are thinking about this person.
Look, I should just get your reaction to some of her stuff.
All right, let me get some better lighting in here now that the sun's going down. Where are the lights in this?
I can get rid of. Let me close some stuff myself. We'll leave that up. It's full of meanness. All right. All right. So let me unmirror my screen so I can share it. Step 1.
Okay, but then I'll have to mute the restream and watch this.
No. I'm gonna share it in Restream.
You're gonna share it in Restream?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to hang on, I think I need to
You already showed me the Pastor remix guy.
No, I'm not showing you that. That's just on my screen. What? I think I need to change monitor. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, much better. There we go. Okay. Hang on a sec. All right. So weirdly enough, I'm just gonna pull up So the conversation we've been trying to have about this person, her name is Rebecca. Her channel is called Bread of Life, right? And she is interesting because she's a Christian, but she is really like atheist friendly, maybe the way to say it. Yeah. And so she regularly, you know, has the atheist take over her channel and stuff. And so I think a lot of us have gotten into sort of celebrating her, maybe like, oh, we wish more and more, you know, theists were like that.
Okay.
And I think lately, some of us that have been starting to watch her a bit more closely have started to become like more openly frustrated with her.
Okay.
And so I'm going to show you a couple things that I have discovered recently that I think will help spell some of this out. Not only for you, but also for the audience. So she has this. Here we go. All right. Can you? All right, so now I'm going to try to share my screen, and we'll see how this goes. All right. So recently, she had this girl Taylor on.
Cool. Okay, so Terrence wants to know. He says it appears Taylor find her. All right. Hi everyone.
Okay.
Welcome to the Bread of Life.
And
I can hear the audio, but I can't.
Oh wait, hang on. I didn't put it on the thing. All right, so there it should be on the thing now.
Yep, I see it.
Let's go full screen so the audience can get a better view.
I don't know how I feel about that spelling.
Yeah, with the E, yeah.
I'm not a native English speaker. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a problem, right? But this is her central claim, right? Cell biologist says science points to God. Okay? Now, from what we can gather via the Twitterverse and things, she is like a master's. No, she has a master's in something, but she's apparently a PhD student. But this thing was a fucking shit show. I mean, I'd love to show you some of this. I don't know how much time you got, but it's.
Dude, I'm just here.
Are you chilling?
I want to go to sleep.
Okay, cool.
I mean, if we're here for a little bit longer, I might go grab a beer.
Yeah, you should go. Well, go grab the beer now because you're gonna want to drink when you see this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're gonna need some spirits. All right, I'm gonna put on my cousin. Y'all check out it's airplanemode.com. That's where you find my cousin's music. I'm bumping it because he's not just my cousin, he's one of my favorite rappers. Let's go. Ready for takeoff.
Whoa. Working hard on my stump, what's the problem? I ain't had shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA, you're on collars. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Just the John on them jets cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island, moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pots flip. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof for my first whip. Spent the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas this distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that tag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at, started ballin', now I'm Chris Paul and Cass. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices.
Oh, he did the whole race, bro. Just race back right on it.
Can you hear the music, Rodrigo?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Gotta stay out the way. Especially the streets when they in a rage. I
Hang on a
remember my
sec.
nigga, he caught a case on a run.
Go ahead. All right, so somebody actually just brought this up. So, all right, so here's the deal, right? So this is, I'm gonna show you what happened to me. I really, and this is gonna also be good backstory for the audience to see how this whole thing built up. I didn't really see Bread of Life on her own channel. I always saw her just on other people's channels. She was like the cool, ooh, what's that? Oh, it's an IPA, Hopping Mad, is that what it says?
Low ABV because I'm a baby.
Oh.
I like beer, but I don't want to get too trash.
Oh, that's actually smart. To be honest,
I'm almost at my 30s. I'm, you know.
Yeah, bro. I've started drinking more wine and beer specifically for that reason, because I can sip it longer. Like I used to like take back shots of liquor, but then it's like you take back 2 shots and that's it for the night. Like I can't.
Jay, dude. You're talking to someone whose mom every Saturday barbecue would have like a big ass shot of tequila and sip it. And she would go,
and just sip the.
Rodri, you're not going out there doing shots, are you, with your friends? I know you like tequila. I know you sip it. You sip it, right? And I was like, yeah, mom.
You're like, nah.
Yeah, definitely sip tequila. But no, yeah.
All right, so
sometime.
check this out. All right, so
yeah.
First, so I'm seeing her pop up on these other panels, and I'm like, oh, you know, like she seems really cool. Everybody's hanging out with her. Danny, this content creator we like, who's actually teaching like a biology class. You'd like Danny. He's a philosopher.
Yeah.
Like, he hung out with her in real life. I was like, oh man, I want to hang out with Rebecca in real life. So I finally like subscribed to her channel and started seeing her stuff pop up. And I was like, okay, now I'll see more of her content. And then I started to realize like, oh, she's like fully in this. Like she's a full blown apologist, like, you know, young earth creationist, the whole deal. And so I'm like, it's a little bit weird. And so I eventually started to come to this idea because I heard her say something on somebody else's channel, I think Nate's or something. Basically, she said, oh, you know, I could be convinced of whatever, but basically that she'd always like hold on to her faith.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, she finally said the quiet part out loud. Like, she finally just said, like, doesn't matter what you convince me of, you know, I've got, and I said, and I left a comment, you know, we're a community based on the chats in the comment section, right? So literally if like we leave a comment on a YouTuber's video, there's a real good chance they might respond to it. So I said, like, you know, that's really personally honest and we should celebrate you for that, but it's intellectually dishonest.
Right.
And she said that she like, you know, she said, oh, she was really nice about it, but, you know, but she said she didn't agree. And so that's kind of set up the whole premise of like, okay, I'll have you come on Hot Program, which is like the show I co-host with my one black friend, which is his name.
Jay, you only have one black friend.
You know, no, he goes by my one black friend. And it takes people a while to realize that that's actually the name he uses, and I'm not saying he's my only black friend.
It's clever, I like it.
Yeah, it's really funny. But it puts the rest of us in an awkward position.
I think
it's great. Yeah, it is. I know. It's definitely the point.
Play with that.
But so So I said that we'd set that up, and we I think we're gonna do that. But in the meantime, right, it's like I've kind of realized that like I'm not as big of a fan as I once was, and I think that's what some of the other people are realizing. Like the more of her content we watch, she's just all over the place. She's very inconsistent. Seems to just say whatever, seems to feel good and make her look good at the time. I now think the whole nice kind of, the nice soccer mom image that I call it is like part of the act. And for me as a critical thinker, it's like, that's fine. But it's fine to be nice. And I know everybody wants to go along to get along. But for me, once I realized that that's part of your shtick and that you're actually doing something I think is not good and using that as a sort of cover tactic, then I'm like not with it, right? Referring to some women in wrestling, I remember Kevin Nash would talk about how some women were upfront cunts and some women were undercover cunts, and the ones you want to avoid are undercover cunts, you know what I mean? So now the other thing I realized since then, and this is the piece I was actually going to show you, is that she actually has a whole second channel. And this whole ass second channel is called Examining Evolution.
Endogenous.
And yeah, she just interviewed this dude about how ERVs are like evidence of creation. But before I play this clip, it's like, because I'm just gonna play her preview thing, right? This is a good thing to do if you're not familiar with the channel, go watch the like preview video that they have. It's usually really short. But like the other thing that's weird is she never talks about this channel on the Bread of Life channel.
Okay.
On the Bread of Life channel, she'll try to say like chintzy things like, oh, I wish I could just let go of this young earth creationism view, then I could be one of the cool kids like you guys. Well, like, why does it turn out that you have like a whole second channel where all you do is like try to undermine evolutionary thinking? That doesn't make it.
Do you know about this person, but beyond like just?
We don't know. We're piecing it together. We're piecing it. A YouTube person. It's a cult of internet personality. She's just a YouTube personality. We're trying to unpack the.
She's got 200 subscribers on this one. How many in the other one?
6.6K. Wow. Right. So this is definitely the second channel she's trying to build up. Yeah, and that's what put me in a weird position. Was it's like honestly, her coming on my show or having me on her show like she did today is a big boost for me. It's a big.
Was that the first time you were on her channel?
No. I've been on her channel a few times. Okay. It's a favor, right? And it's like I do appreciate it, right? Because she's a much bigger content creator than I am. And I will say, as far as the culture of content creators go, like she's fun to be on these panels and things with. Like I remember last time I was on, people got worried because she booted me because I was like giving somebody a hard time and she like kicked me out the studio. But I was telling them like, dude, it's all good. Like one, she eventually let me back in because I petitioned through some other people, but she didn't even she didn't ban me or like kick me out the studio. She just like removed me to like the backstage area. I just chilled backstage, smoked weed, and I was still like engaging with everybody in the private chat. So I was like, dude, she's cool. This is stuff we do. It's not a big deal, right? Like, so she's like a cool person in that regard, in terms of, like I said, in terms of other content creators. It just, when it comes to the actual content now, I'm like, wait, you're actually a full-throated, almost thinking, are you like a Ken Ham, full-blown anti-evolutionist, right? And then as far as like what I do in terms of like work, it's like, this is the enemy. Like you're like really invested in the other side, right? Like if you're doing this. So, but yeah, let me play this little clip for you.
Yeah, stop teasing me.
All right, sorry.
I'm already
I'm bad at this.
I'm already triggered by
Welcome
this.
to Examining Evolution. My name
The
is
title
Rebecca
and the
Davis,
graphic,
and I
right?
started this channel
The
because
progress
it's
graphic.
deeply troubling to
March
me
of
that this
Progress.
theory that doesn't have a scientific leg to stand on is so widely promoted and believed as scientific fact. Now, I know as soon as I say that, there are 1,000 voices screaming at me, "You're unscientific, you're against science."
Yes.
I'm not against science. I love science. And I recognize that the majority of scientists today have accepted evolution as true. But there are many great scientists today who do not believe in evolution. So I want to give you an opportunity on this channel to hear their voices. You know, there have been many times throughout history when the majority of scientists believe something that turned out to be wrong. And the majority of scientists today are wrong about evolution. If evolution
I did all
is
that
a
teasing and you
scientific
still
fact,
weren't ready.
It should stand up to scientific scrutiny. So thanks for joining me as we examine evolution.
Yo, have you ever watched? Do you ever watch It's Always Sunny?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna play this. I'm sending it to you on the chat.
All right.
How do I? Is this the private chat? Yeah.
Yeah. So this Taylor thing was the first thing that really got me going, and then when I saw this this second channel, and yeah, she interviewed recently this whole guy who went on and on about how ERVs are like, you know, not evidence of evolution. It's so weird, man.
Making myself credible in your eyes again, and I'm gonna
Also, chat, let me know if we get the stream pulled. We'll probably get the stream pulled if we play more than like 10 seconds of this.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
do that by admitting that evolution is a lie.
God damn you, Mac!
Yes, please do, Mac. Now, as you can see, this is the evolution meter, and I've put God, the creator of everything, on the right side, and evolution.
Yeah, this is what we deal with. I don't want to play this because the people that watch me know, like, they actually pull your stream midstream. You just have to go live again, but it's
What does that mean? And why? Because it's a TV show?
Yeah, it's the way certain companies have their copyright claims set up. Most people just have it set up so that you get like a little copyright thing, and it's no big deal. But some companies have it set. Hang on a second. I need to get rid of these screens.
I love this. This is my favorite part of the stream.
But some people have it set up so that it like you get blocked. And if they have it set up like that, then it actually will like pull it in the middle of the stream. It's really not a big deal. Like, you don't get in trouble or anything. It just it just ends the stream and you just have to restart it.
Anyway, I recommend anybody who hasn't seen that clip to watch it.
Yeah. Actually, I want to watch it, and I have my own other secret channels, and what I do with stuff like that is I sometimes I'll play it on that channel, see what happens. But yeah, so I think that all right, they said they need to watch the Taylor and the ERV. I want to watch the Taylor one with you. I literally wanted to watch it with you when it happened, so look, we'll let her watch it. But look, I'm gonna point out a couple things before I let the Taylor stream get started.
You need to put it up though.
Yeah. So I just want people to notice in the chat that when you see me doing academic stuff, guys, you see me with my academic sweaters on, my academic tights, you see my academic university blankets in the background, right? When you heard Rodrigo's talk, you heard him talk about his funding sources, you heard him talk about working at the University of Minnesota, right? One of the things that's really weird about this girl is that she never identifies her academic affiliations to me. Another thing that's weird is that we've now watched a couple of her videos, a few of her debates. I've had my detectives really on top of this case, and it seems like her lab thing is actually a background. Because some of these debates, they happen in like the middle of the night. And it's like, why would you be in lab that late? Yeah, I actually think it's a background. And Rodrigo, backing me up on this, one of the reasons I pieced together that I think it was a backdrop is I saw her drinking in front of it. And I was like, nope, no, that's a big no, I can't do that. I was like, see, I was like, a real lab person knows better than to be, you can't eat or drink. And so again,
I mean, not on camera.
Exactly. Seriously. Are you trying to get seriously, you trying to get the people in here? But yeah, so if you notice other weird stuff, right, that's just like not jiving with academic culture, like call it out. Yeah.
Well,
I'm so excited to be here with Taylor. She's a cell biologist, and she's going to be talking to us about how science points to God. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Right. Yeah. So I study microtubules in terms of causing neurodegeneration. So whenever you have something that destabilizes microtubules, it causes neurodegeneration. And I actually have found a research model where we can easily view this and see if the microtubules are being disturbed by different medications or substances to try to prevent, neurodegeneration from different substances.
Awesome. Well, you can find Taylor on Twitter and Instagram. I put where to find her in the description of this video, so you guys can subscribe to her or follow her, whatever you guys call it. I don't use any of those Twitter or Instagram. So, but okay, so how do our scientific observations point to God?
Well, our scientific observations are suggesting that naturally things like life could not have occurred. Just based on basic biology, you need certain living components to create things that don't naturally create in nature. So this suggests that this could not have happened by natural means, such as abiogenesis in the start of life. So there's just no scientific explanation for things, and there's scientific impossibilities for things like the start of life, which suggests that there was some type of divine intervention.
Well, now a lot of people hear that and they say, well, just because we haven't found an explanation for how life developed yet doesn't mean that there isn't one. We just need more time to research.
Yeah. The more time that we research and the more that we're finding out about the cell, the more intricate we're finding out it is. So the more research we're doing on the cell, the more impossible the theory becomes.
What?
And that's why there's no working theory. And so there's no working theory scientifically to how life began. And it's only getting worse with time as we're learning about the cell.
Well, now a lot of people are going to be hearing that and they're going to say, that's not true. That's not true at all. We've shown how every step of the process of life could have come about. And there are people who are going to just totally disagree with you.
They're not scientific. They're not biologists. They don't know anything about the field. It's interesting how atheists act like they know more science than actual scientists. So tell them to come debate me.
Hey, wait, can you pause it?
Okay.
I need to breathe. Oh my God. Oh, wow. She's coming out firing out like.
Yeah, she's real aggro with it. And you'll notice she went straight debate me, bro, right?
This is a very calculated PR move to me. Is this somebody who's like, fuck academia, I want to be a TV personality, and I'm going to go the fucking Trump route because that's what everybody's doing? That's my working theory right now.
I'm trying to figure that out. And so I guess I want to know what your theory is. Mine is that, okay, because I at one point I thought that she might be a mole, like an Answers in Genesis, send her to grad school, have her come work for us with her credentials. But then people pointed out, especially No Name pointed out, that if that were the case, she'd be better at this. And I was like, undeniably true. Undeniably true. They would have definitely sharpened her up first. So I'm not with that theory anymore. Now that could be like her ambition, right? She could aspire to working for some sort of creationist organization or whatever. I don't know. Here's what's interesting, and I wonder if you'll get a gut wrench here too. I was always wondering, like, if she's serious and she was serious about research and scholarship, it's almost like you'd want to make a course correction such that you're not discouraging a young lady from a future in academia, right? Because, like, Rodrigo, if you, like, nail her about this, sorry, that probably didn't come out right. If you really get on her about this in, like, the elevator one day, and she's, like, goes to her office and she's crying, right? That's the type of thing that, like, people quit grad programs over.
Right.
So, but the one thing I was trying to make, I brought this up with, like, Mike and Rob Pennock. By the way, Mike Travisano is our mutual advisor. Rodrigo and I actually work in the same lab. I was talking to Mike about it, and I was like, no, like, we'd have to intervene, right? If a student presented this way at, like, a graduate seminar, right? She's supposed to be a PhD student. So if she gave this at, like, a lab meeting, right? You'd have to talk to this person like, yeah, that's not gonna cut it here, right? So that's what I was trying to communicate. Like, this would be a real issue.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, it's not just the content. There's, like, a delivery, the way that she's delivering her opinion.
Yeah, the come debate me.
Like the way scientists do it, right? So, like, when I gave my talk, obviously, like, the audience is not a lay person audience. It's like, the audience is two, like, experts, right? It's people who are going to this conference. But still, like, even if I was talking to non-experts, there's this kind of, like, gradual way that you make statements and that you present the information, instead of just kind of like, and to me, like, this is actually reminiscent to, like, the way that very religious people talk, where it's like, I already know that you know what I know, so I'm just gonna say enough that you know, and we're both gonna agree about it. But there's no real content, so, like, in science, we the market is information, right? So she's not giving us any information. She's just said, I study these microtubules and how they degrade with medicine. Thus they're so complicated. Thus there is God. Like, there's this leap. She's not setting up the argument at all. She's just setting up that she is a scientist, and she says that her science points to God, but there's no transparency.
Dude, we need you in this community, because I'm trying to tell people they do this all the time, and it's so irritating. This one scientist has this opinion that he put in a book, not in a scientific paper, nothing peer reviewed, in a book, in some memoir he wrote after he retired. That don't count. It doesn't count.
So we're not even 3 minutes in. Oh my God. I was warned by the chat. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, they tried. They tried. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. You ready? And bro, we don't have to get through more like 5 minutes of this.
You for this.
I just wanted you to get a flavor for what we deal with.
Guys, you heard the challenge. So, well, can you explain more about what you mean that, you know, we have no explanation? Like, what are the problems with abiogenesis?
Okay, so the current theory, which there's no actual consensus on how life began, because there's no working explanation. So some people say RNA world hypothesis is the current model, but considering that RNA doesn't naturally form in nature, and abiogenesis scientists, original life scientists, actually acknowledge this. And so they're still debating, like, because there's some people saying, okay, well, RNA first is impossible. Well, metabolism first is also impossible. So then we're just kind of left shaking our heads, like, what's going on here? But yeah, so can you repeat the question?
Oh, it was just okay.
So
wait, where was my question?
Okay, so
yes,
possibilities are that water would have needed to be been there for life to begin, but if water was there, things tend to disperse, so that's a big problem. The free energy problem, things like RNA needs a lot of energy to come together, and that's why we have enzymes that bind them together. But in nature, there would not be a lot of energetic RNA, like, say, nucleotides. that are able to make those bonds that don't happen in nature. And even if there were, they would have become destabilized by the other components that are present on primordial Earth. And so there's many impossibilities. There also needed to be oxygen, but oxygen couldn't have been there because it would have oxidized things like DNA. And we haven't even began to understand step one, which is how the basic components of RNA formed, other than the furthest stuff we've gotten in this research is one RNA nucleotide, and that's created in a lab with the use of formaldehyde, which we do not believe was present on primordial Earth. And that's just step one. That does not account for all of the other components of the cell that needed to be there. And then from there, we don't understand how those RNA molecules came together. So there's just many, many impossibilities, and that's why there's not even a working theory. But scientists, they admit that we don't know how this happened, but somehow atheists start propagating that we have it all figured out whenever the actual origin of life scientists themselves.
Okay. Did you see that though? That like scientists don't know, and so atheists are saying this. It's like, who is she talking about?
That's a good point. That was really sharp to call that out, actually. Yeah, dude, this whole thing is really weird. And I think she does have the religious thing going, and it just feels off, right? It doesn't feel like somebody who's genuinely training to be a cell biologist.
No. So this reminds me of, I had a friend of mine that in college, we studied, my undergraduate degree is in marine biology and genetics. And so we were like marine stuff together, and she was a Christian, or probably still is. I actually went to church with her once because I thought she was hot, and I wanted to see how kooky, her church was.
Right. Yes, that's a really good fact-finding mission. Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah, no, I fucks with that. That's smart, actually.
And I actually kind of liked that church. It was cool. Like, it was good vibes, and the music was nice. So she was a parasitology major. And I remember her just like one time saying to me like, oh, I believe in microevolution, but not macroevolution. So there is this like...
Yeah, I've heard shit like that too from religious people. It always feels very weird.
How did we both get the same degree? Like, came out totally different perspectives. And so it really does feel like, with this scientist, if we're gonna call her that she's like, look, 100 years ago, we had no fucking clue how life started at all. Now we think like, oh, maybe RNA. And scientists have been able to like put RNA together in the lab, but they did use the conditions that like weren't perfect, but like, we've got this. But there's still so much missing data that fuck it. It's like, we've made all these incredible, like 100 years ago, we had zero data. Now we have
mountains of data. Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, it's odd. And here's another thing that's so weird is I honestly I'm almost like you can tell me if you want to see more of this. You don't really need to, because for me the thing that I'm always trying to tell people now is that it's not about the details. Like the trap with her, right? You could debate her about the details. But for most 99.9% of the population, that's the trap with her. She wants you to start talking about the details so she can start dropping big words that you have no idea what they mean, so she can get back to her point about how she's a scientist and you're not, and go away because you're stupid, right? The issue is to come right at the fact that she is not being scientific, period. When you talk about, oh, well, there's just too many scientific impossibilities, conversation over.
Yeah.
Because no scientist talks like that ever.
Nobody talks like
ever.
That. You would never see, like, I'm trying to answer this question. In doing so, I found out the question is much more complicated than I thought.
Right.
fuck it.
Yeah.
That's not what we do.
Do you know?
We go,
Yeah.
You kind of maybe one day you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, now I'm gonna have an existential crisis because I banked my whole
Rodrigo,
PhD.
can we be honest with the audience and tell them the truth, which is that she missed the point? Because what we really do is we say, oh my God, we tried to figure this thing out. It's more complicated than we thought. Send us more fucking money right now.
You're also just like, wow, the world is so incredible.
That's just
When you're
literally,
like,
this is how you get funding. This is literally the entire exercise of getting funding is exactly that. We don't go, fuck it, God did it. Like, just unbelievable. And then the whole, like, debate me bravado as if scientists are, like, after debates. Like, that's what we're definitely prove our worth to our colleagues by debating people. Like, just, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's not talking about papers she's trying to publish or...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
just
interesting,
weird.
Like, it really feels so like, all right, if this person, now let's try to get into like the psyche.
Yeah.
And the motivations behind her coming onto this Bread of Life channel. If her motivation was to kind of like advance her career as a Christian Scientist, I don't know that I personally would go about just kind of like coming on hot like that. Like,
sure.
I don't understand what I'm kind of losing my
it's really interesting because I don't know. And also, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how she did. Like, I think it feels like she was kind of like darlinged up real quick. To be honest, it feels like she was on some other thing. I think if I'm remembering this correctly, I think she was on Modern Day Debates on a debate I did not see. I think Rebecca saw her there and liked her, I guess, so she had her on. Most of the people I'm in community with saw her on this, and then also subsequently saw her debate T-Jump. And since T-Jump actually was antagonistic to her, he really took it to her, because he knows all this shit. So he did great. And I think that if her plan was to become the sort of like Christian Scientist with credentials type of deal, I think she kind of fucked up, and I think they will toss her aside, because most of them will quickly realize now, okay, that Taylor girl is not going to get you anything but scorn, because people reacted so negatively to her, right? So I think if she thought she was going to like impress people and like score points for Christians, and really, because the atheists would, it was like the exact opposite of that. And so I think that if she was going to continue in that route, she now is over in the flat earth creationist corner, because it's like the Ken Hams of the world are probably the only people that are going to screw with her. Now, I could be totally wrong about this, but that's my impression. My impression is that most of the apologists we deal with are a little bit more sophisticated than that. Most of them are far more sophisticated than Rebecca. And to stay on topic of Rebecca, my big reveal is, and this is gonna sound a little weird, but I'm gonna just be honest, I don't think Rebecca's that smart. And I think a lot of what I see going on is people who overestimate their competence and enjoy a lot of privilege. And when those two things get together, a person finds themselves infallible unto themselves. And that's kind of my long and short of it. Which I know a lot of people are going to feels like it's rude, but it's just where I'm at. Go ahead.
I don't know, it just makes me think like how these people get to these positions, right? So like this person, Taylor, allegedly got a science degree, got a second science degree and a master's, is working on a third science degree and a PhD. Because she doesn't seem like somebody who at least is not able to like use the trade language that we utilize. Doesn't seem
That's
to
what I'm saying. It's so
acknowledge
weird.
the knowledge base of her audience, because like
It almost
when
feels
you're a
like Christian chemistry, right? Like Christian college chemistry or something.
probably I don't know what that means.
I don't either, but I just made it up. But
no, fair enough, yeah.
But,
I don't know, to me it feels
yeah.
like yeah, like when you're a scientist, like, and you're trying to make an argument, you want people to follow. So you like give the information that they need in order to follow you and to like critically think about what you're saying and then come to their own conclusions, whether they agree with you or not. And part of being a scientist is like being persuasive enough in your argument that people agree with you. But she's not doing that. So how did she get this deep into a science career without acquiring those skills?
I don't know. Also, so the chat's brought up some really good points. One is that she said that she doesn't belong to a religious denomination. She said they're toxic, but this person said, Supercritical Snake said that still under the impression that she's a Christian. Also, they said I should show you the T-Jump debate. I don't know where the clip is, but there's a clip. I'm not going to show you to you because it's going to take too long, because it'll take me so long to find it. But there's a clip where she literally says that she uses God to fill in the gaps. And the chat exploded. Like, it was like, yep, that's it right there. Yep, that's it. She just said the quiet part out loud.
That's a great way to describe what we were saying before, where it's just like, yeah, we know this is a really hard topic to think about. Because life on this planet has only emerged once, as far as we know, right? Like, it happened.
Oh, Cameron, can you send it to me, please?
4 billion years ago. Life right now looks so fucking different to what it did when it first started. The planet is totally different to what it did when it first started. So it is like one of the most challenging scientific questions to think about.
That's what bothers me, though. Like that's what makes me angry, because it almost feels like I think it's one thing for a genuine believer to feel like, I think there are these big questions out there and they're unanswered, and then they go that way because they're probably a person of faith anyway. Like, whatever, they use God to like fill in the gaps of like origins of the universe, but they also think God helped them find their car keys, right? So whatever.
Oh, there's the link.
But on the other hand, if you're like going out of your way to, I don't know, like target an underdeveloped area of science just so you can make a guard of the gaps, like that just feels like a whole different level of, not to be ironic, but toxic. It's like
I think what I'm trying to point out as well is like, it's almost insulting to that field to be like, this field is so fucking hard and we know so little about it that it's bullshit. That's insulting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like you're going to I think you're saying it better than I am. Like it's I literally it makes me angry. Like I feel the one thing people have realized about her, she actually triggered me. Like I tried to go on a couple of shows like afterwards and like react to what I saw, and I was genuinely like ineffective and like really like just off my game, just like useless, because I was like that like enraged, like that, like no, like none of this works like this, you know what I mean? And it's kind of, man, I just think what we're doing is good, right? Like just giving people more of the like, hey, this is what actual scientists talk like and what they actually do, and it's not like that. But even like like even Rob and Mike talked about it. You should never hear a scientist talk for more than 5 minutes and not understand their academic affiliations. Like it's an immediate red flag if somebody's supposed to be an expert in a field. Like,
I mean, that's the company that you
yeah,
work for.
and even
imagine meeting a plumber, and the guy just shows up to your house, and you're like, all right, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm a plumber.
Right.
Okay, who do you work for? Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Like, oh, okay. How much are you gonna charge? Don't worry about it. How you gonna do it? Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me put this clip up here. But yeah, it was really, this was one of the shining YouTube moments. Oh wait, I totally played the wrong thing, and it's loud as shit because that other thing was quiet. Whoopsies. Here we go. It's over here.
I gotta say, Snake, there's no bathtub big enough that could drown out all my emotions right now.
I know, it's wild.
It's like jump in the ocean.
All right, let me. I'm pulling the volume back down to normal.
Okay.
So that that painful thing doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Hey, at least we know my new mixer gets loud.
Dr. Who logo?
What'd you say?
So is that the Doctor Who logo?
No, I think this is the modern day debates logo. I kind of like it.
The Doctor Who logo upside down.
I'm kind of into it. It's got the podium and the mic and the letters and it's simple.
The Doctor Who logo.
I've never really watched Doctor Who, so I wouldn't know.
Me neither, I just know the logo.
Why does it keep switching back to the actual debate? This is making me look like the worst producer in the history of video. All right.
I think they plagiarized the Doctor Who logo.
Oh, wait. I Fill in the Gaps with God was named. All right, hang on. I got to click the link again maybe to get the clip. And let's get rid of all these extra windows and things. Cancel. Don't do that. All right. I think T-Jump did a good job. So wait, do you guys think I should actually interview Taylor? Like, is that a productive use of my time? Do you think she's too big for us? Do you think she'll be like, yo, I'm too big time for y'all?
I'd be down. I'd do it.
Yeah, would you? Oh, do you want to do it on our thing? We should do it on our thing, right? Yeah.
That'd be so good. But like, no, but we'd be like, chill.
We'll call it.
I wouldn't be drinking.
Nah, yeah, we'll be nice.
And then just like, really just like try to figure out what her game is.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to know. All right, let's close all these tabs. Let's close all these tabs too. All right, there we go. Look at that. Space, freedom. All right, now let's go find my stream so I can pull the link. I'm like an old man. I'll get things done just slowly. All right. All right. They said they think we should. Yeah, I'm not dead inside. I need to doubt my doubt more and become more dead inside.
Science is broken. We can just say science.
I'd be down to. I want to psychoanalyze this.
Yes, I found it. I pulled it up successfully. I can use YouTube I can click on a link in YouTube like a normal person. I promise, guys, I use technology for a living, I swear.
Science is broken. We can just say science is 100% wrong about everything. That does the fact that science is a broken axle prove that your axle, the God axle, works?
It just means that we needed a better explanation, and I came up with the explanation. I filled in the gaps with God. Now, if you want magical fairy pixie dust, then that's fine. But your model is insufficient.
Like, yep,
fine. So
done.
Again, one
Just
axle being
done. Just done. And Rodrigo, just do me a favor. Please tell the people.
Science is broken. We can just say
What is the policy on food and drink in the lab?
None.
That
You can't do
does
that.
the fact that
Oh,
science is a
shit,
broken
it is.
axle prove
I didn't
that
even
your
notice.
axle, the God axle,
Right?
And out of a red solo cup too. Damn.
Dog, I mean, come on. You just can't. There's no way. There is no way. So it's just like, so again, what university are you working at, right? That it makes that question so much more relevant when you see these little details, right?
Can we watch it one more time?
Yeah,
I want to be like from the start.
science is broken. We can just say science is 100% wrong about everything. That does the fact that science is a broken axle prove that your axle, the God axle, works?
It just means that we needed a better explanation, and I came up with the explanation.
I don't see
filled in the
any
gaps with God. Now, if
haloing
you want
though.
magical fairy pixie dust, then that's fine. But your model is insufficient.
That's fine. So again, one axle being science is broken. We can just say science is 100% wrong about everything.
Wait, so is this T-Jump
That
person a
does-
scientist?
No.
Yo, I bet she would not talk to an actual scientist.
Yeah,
There's no way.
I wonder.
Because that's her whole thing is like, I came up with this and I'm a scientist, and thus this perspective is valuable and unique and interesting.
Yes, I have tried to make this point too, even to my viewers before, which is like, I don't think that that a lot of the people in the space actually are going to really want to talk to me. Like, I think they're going to be much more receptive to like, oh, Jay's that silly guy who will like come on your channel and smoke weed and be in costume. And like, I could slip in,
how you get 'em.
I could like slip in the good questions and stuff. But if I came
that's like
straight
the-
at the like as a like scientist, dude, I just think they'd shut that down quickly. Yeah.
What's the you know the lizards that have like the 3 mating systems?
Are those
And
the
so-
anolis lizards?
I think so, yeah. So for people in the chat, there's these lizards where like, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's like one that's really aggressive and just like goes after the females. Another one that kind of like, I don't know, is less aggressive and still gets the females.
Yeah,
And
and
there's
then a
one that like
sneaker.
pretends to be a female and lets the males attempt to mate with him. And then once the male has expended his semen, then they will mate with the females. And that's what you want to do.
That's gross. That's like the grossest possible analogy.
No, it's a compliment.
Oh my goodness. All right, let me I'm gonna take this off. Poof.
It's just like, it's false signaling. You're like, hey, I'm not
Exactly.
I'm not venomous.
I'm not
Just get over here. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. It's all
I'm
good.
just a little rock. Don't step on me.
Yeah.
Super poisonous though.
But yeah, dude, I think we'll have a lot of fun. That's but yeah, it's gonna be a fun ride. But yeah, we'll try to get her on. What else should we tell me your ideas when you envisioned our podcast? What did you see in your mind's eye?
I mean, this.
Just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, it could be less. I honestly haven't thought about like atheism and Christianity for a long time. I went through this like process of, like read Dawkins when I was a teenager, became really aggro atheist type, and then kind of like had a few experiences where I was like, oh, hey, like here's an example where religion was not a bad thing for like this individual. And then had like another example like, oh, here it was good for this community. And then I became like very, I guess, apologetic towards Buddhism. And I got really into Buddhism, and I read a lot, like the Rig Vedas, read a lot of Hindu texts as well. And then I had somebody, I was volunteering at this orphanage with refugees, and I was talking after this like yoga group with this tall, blonde, muscular American guy, and I talked to him about these kids, and he was like, wow, can you imagine what horrible lives those poor souls must have led in their previous life so that they would deserve this? And I was like, oh my fucking God. Is Buddhism as bad as Christianity? Fuck me, man. And then I just kind of, since then, I've just kind of like distanced myself a lot from these kind of arguments. So this is honestly the most I've talked about this in like years. So this is stuff that we could talk about.
I'm trying to think of how I found this community. You know what it was? I was looking for, I wanted to show how you could use like post-process, like basically like producing skills, like audio engineering stuff, to like fix like bad videos essentially. So I was looking for debates. I started to notice that there were these debates I would listen to, and there'd always be something going on with the sound that drove me nuts. I'd always be like, oh, I want to like make a video and show people how to fix that.
Huh. Okay.
And I ended up getting into these debates, and then I started to like actually, you know, like really listen to the debates, and it was during COVID. And so I think the timing, because I think that was the first time in my life where I started to really feel the fear of religion. And I think even now, I think people don't understand that part of my motivation. It's not just a disdain for religion. It's really like, even with today, right? The whole Roe v. Wade thing, right? That's something we could have done, is react to the Roe v. Wade stuff. But I think most of the protests.
That's what I thought we were going to talk about.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, we should. So that was like, that's an example to me of like the religion taking from us, right? And I think for me, COVID was an example. You know, here was, and it was finally a chance where it was like, okay, if y'all want us to buy your whole, you know, religion is great, it makes the world a better place, we should all give Jesus a chance. Okay, well, now's your fucking chance. There's literally a real life pandemic. This is not a drill. Okay, so where y'all at with the like free vaccinations and the voluntarily, you know, not having in-person services so that you could keep down the spread? Like, there's so many things the church could have done, and they did the fucking opposite on every single issue. And then the rest of them are like, oh, well, I didn't do that. I'm not crazy. I didn't do that. I'm like, well, what did you say to the other ones?
Right.
Oh, you ain't say shit? Well, fuck you too. Right? You ain't say shit? Fuck you too. Right? Because I was going to church, playing drums in the church. So you know what I did here? I heard, you want me to count how many sermons I heard about jerking off? How many sermons I heard about sexual immorality? How many fucking sermons I heard about all this fucking bullshit? And now all of a sudden it's a real fucking pandemic and y'all got shit to say? Fuck you. Get out of here. Right? And then it just got worse. Right, with the George Floyd stuff, and then the January 6th, right? Like the actual. This is what kills me about even in our community, right? Like when I was talking about Doug talking about people need to be more dead inside. He always throws that criticism at the left, where it's like, yo, these niggas lost an election and their response was to try to hang the vice president of the United States of America. So who really needs to keep their emotions in check? Is it the left that's really too emotional? You know, it's just like to see one side of it and not the other is baffling to me. Not that I think that would be a fair criticism of Doug, but from other people probably. But anyway, like, yeah, so for me, I really do fear, because even I feel like people like my mother, my grandmother, they're not right-wing conservative people, right? But to me, it's like they won't really speak out against a lot of stuff because they're still under the big tent with the Jesus loving. And that's scary to me, because that means like the people I depend on and the people I think are really good and really loving have these Jesus blinders on. And I'm just like, man, like, I really need you guys and you like wrapped up in the Holy Ghost right now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think I experienced similar things with my family. Like my immediate family, I have you know, big Mexican family, so I have about 26 cousins, 12 on one side, 14 on the other. My parents are like both one of four. Their parents were like one of eight. So my second cousins is like a huge umbrella. And a lot of them are really religious, especially on my mom's side. And one of the things that I always notice that I think really gets in the way of having like really important discussions is this kind of like, no, you got to keep the family peace. Brody, like you're coming in here and you're trying to tell your cousin how what they said is racist. That's upsetting the family. Don't do that.
Really? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Can't we just have a nice family dinner? Like, can't we just have, just keep the peace?
Yeah, like if they don't say racist shit, it'd be a lot easier to enjoy my fucking dinner. So.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna. All right, mom. Like, yeah, my little sister's like freaking out, but I honestly think that what she said was anti-indigenous, and I want to point it out. And like, they're like, yeah, but she's just having a hard time. Like, don't you? Like, no, no.
Yeah.
Why can't we talk? Like, why? And I think this is kind of like, maybe as scientists, we're kind of more accustomed to this, but like discussions are not always debates, and it's not about who's right or wrong. Like when we consider like everybody has an important perspective and an important opinion, and they bring that into a discussion. And even if like, you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that you and I would disagree on.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can talk about those things, and I would find that fascinating. Like, oh, okay, so how do you see it? Oh, interesting. That does kind of shape my understanding. I'm still kind of feeling more this way. I'm not convinced by your argument, but I can see how now it's taking a more complex shape. That's not a debate, right? It's more like when your whole ego is involved and it's like the whole world's at stake because you're wrong. Or not, or like, you know, if you add this whole other level of like,
well, that's kind of the thing.
The whole world, it's the Christian afterlife. It's like the world. It's like the creation myth. It's the reason for existence. Once that gets questioned, and if it's been ingrained and established for so long, like I just don't think a lot of people can see those foundations crumble and like still find solid ground.
Yeah, and it's weird to me because I honestly wonder sometimes how much people really believe anymore. Like I sometimes, and I've been thinking about this with Rebecca in particular. I sometimes wonder if she's what I would consider a true believer, because sometimes I think it's almost like a political thing. It's like a fight. It's like my mind's made up of what team I'm on type of situation.
Right, yeah, don't make me question this. Like that's too much work.
Yeah, and I'm like. Because to me, it's like either that or, I hate to say this for a lot of people. All right, here's the thing. I think they're insulting me.
Sorry, I want to pause this for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, my little brother was in the stream for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just sent me a text. Holy shit.
Uh-oh. What's up, little bro? Yo, you never know who's watching, man. That's wild.
Oh, shit,
How did he know? How did he find you?
Dude. Oh, no. I told him. I was like, by the
Oh,
way,
okay,
what are you doing? I'm like,
I was about to say,
I'm
how
on
did he find you on the internet? Like, there's
you should stop by.
the big internet out there.
Holy shit. I'm turning so red. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, dude, it happens. People you date and stuff will like check it out too, and they won't tell you. They'll just like lurk, and then they'll tell you like later. You're like,
I have told the people I'm dating, but I haven't told them that I'm on stream or given them.
Yeah. No, you gotta tell them. Also, we gotta put it on. I don't put my stuff on my socials, but with you, we gotta put it on our socials because we should be trying to get people to watch it. That's the point.
He said he watched the Evolution Woman and their second channel.
Oh yeah, dude. But yeah, and she's real secretive about the second channel.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like that doesn't hit me. That doesn't hit me right. All right, so look, this other thing I want to do is we could respond to like new stuff and social events.
Yeah, I think I'm about ready to. It was mostly the guy at the top of the screen. I think he mostly heard you. I think he probably popped in for like a couple seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to wind down, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I want to hit the gym before I go to the conference.
Oh yeah, you get up hella early too.
This was fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Weekly. And yeah, Nano, I hear what you're saying. I definitely it's the same with my family. One side will just be like, okay, yep, that's what you think. Okay, yeah. And it kind of sucks, but I don't know. I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for doing this with me, man. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. And I think we'll get started. Hopefully next week we'll pick a time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Sounds
brother.
good. All right,
Have a good night. Have a safe trip.
Bye, everybody.
All right. See you later. All right. I think for me now over here, I just had this set up basically chilling on this other camera. I'll probably just leave it like that for now. And then I'm just going to switch back to my other computer and get rolling. I want to play my PlayStation. Oh, and I want to play cards. Y'all probably just saw my booty. Did y'all see my booty? No, you didn't see my booty. All right, good. I want to play cards. So yeah, we'll switch over to the other computer and we'll see whether or not I end up playing PlayStation or cards. It's only 10 o'clock, so I might do both. Ooh, look at that, y'all. Yeah, I think that shit is trippy, and I like trippy. No, why are you trying to restart my computer? I told you not to do that. Why is this happening? Like, my computer's trying to restart while I'm in the middle of a stream. This is fucking ridiculous. You're so goddamn annoying. All right, I don't know. I gotta try to figure out a way to do this, to try to stop this. Give me the task manager. This is ridiculous. I said to cancel it before, and it won't give me. I'd be like, I'm so mad that I'm gonna get rid of this computer and replace it, but I'm already gonna replace it, so. And shit like this is why. Oh, what a pain in my ass. All right. Let's do this. Because I don't want the stream to be interrupted. I can't wait to get a new computer. And actually, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Y'all know I'm creative as fuck, and I try to turn things into good things. So it's a real pain in the ass that this is happening because literally it's forcing me to restart the computer in the middle of a stream. But the reason it's a good thing is because when I get my new computer, I'm gonna refuse to let them put the university software on it, and this will be why. Oh, wait. Must be restarted. Save your work to avoid losing data and notify users logged onto this computer. Click restart to restart the computer now. Otherwise, click cancel. Okay, I clicked cancel. Now what? No, you're still being a douche. All right. All right, let me log into the studio. Oh, I need to change computers. All right, I know what to do. All right, guys, here's the game plan. I'm going to switch computers. I'm going to go live from my other computer. Then I'm going to play Pinochle on that computer while this computer restarts. Once this computer restarts, I can switch back over and play PlayStation. All right. Actually, I can also stream my PlayStation from this other computer, but I won't. All right, so let's switch this HDMI 3 from 4 to 1 so that you guys can see the screen again. Let's make sure that's okay. All right. Looking good, looking good. Switch over to... I'm already on that. Okay, great. All right, cool. So I'm going to try to go live and see what happens. Seems like you're already live streaming. To go streaming, stop the ongoing live stream. All right, cool. Let's see. Let me see the end of the chat down here. All right, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. I'm really sorry that this is happening. But yeah, do me a huge favor. Just stay in the chat. Stay in the channel you're in. Whatever channel you're in, I will literally be live in 30 seconds. I have to end the stream on OBS so that I can start it on Streamlabs and restart my computer. So just stay where you're at. Literally, it's going to end the stream, but then in like 30 seconds, just refresh it, and I'll be here. And I will drop a shit ton of pocket change on you guys once this is all said and done, after my computer restarts. All right, so I'll see you guys in a second. I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to count down from 10 to 0. When I hit 0 is when I'm going to press end stream in OBS. And then once that's done, give me about 30 seconds and you can refresh the stream and I'll be live in from Restream. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,